Okay, so sorry for that delay, but we have got it corrected now. We'll make everybody a co-host that should be, and just give us a couple more minutes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry about that, Patrick.
But YouTube is live and we verified that it's the same link. We do not need to send out another notice or anything.
Bob made you a host.
Okay, Gene, while you run around, let me go ahead and start co-hosting staff. Be right back.
Thank you. Okay, we are recording and we're on YouTube. Sorry for that delay. I think you're safe to begin, Patrick, and Bob will get the remainder of the folks co-hosted.
Make sure that we have.
Patrick, your volume is a bit muted.
Hi, this is Mike Garabedian. I can hear you. I do hear you.
Very good.
You,
Thanks.
Mr. Garabedian.
That sounds better, Patrick.
We begin as soon as we can confirm that Denise is back in.
Sure thing. Not here yet. Denise?
I don't hear a thing.
We're just like finishing setting everybody up. Please stand by. Thank you.
We did hear that. Still no Denise, Patrick.
And I texted her a few minutes ago to let her know that we were ready to go.
None of the links have changed, so should access it the same way as prior.
Okay, just talk to Denise and she's going to jump on right now.
Hey, Gene, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, Adam.
Great. Go ahead and for now, at least until I'll be in the training room until after the public forum. So I'll try and just, I guess, leave the camera off until the time comes. Is that okay?
Sure, on or off. Up to you.
Okay, we can turn it on ourselves, right?
Correct.
Hey, I see Denise has joined again.
Yeah,
Hi,
I
Denise.
don't know where I was. I was waiting to get some kind of sign. but Carmen gave me the sign, so thank you, Carmen.
Yeah, that was totally easy. Glad to do it.
Okay, so we're ready to go?
We are ready to go.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 579th board meeting of the California Regional Water Quality Control Board, Central Valley Region. I am Denise Kadar, the acting chair for the Central Valley Water Board, and I will introduce other board members in just a minute. This is the 12th meeting that we are conducting during the COVID-19 emergency. In order to comply with public gathering limitations and physical distancing requirements, and as authorized by Government Code 11133, there is no physical meeting room. For people who only want to listen or watch the meeting, the board's customary website is available. In addition, we are receiving presentations and public comments during a Zoom meeting platform. If you intend to present or comment or think you might be interested in commenting, you should already be in the Zoom meeting room using the meeting ID provided on the board's website and the password you received from our staff. If you've not already received a password, you can email us at agenda5@waterboards.ca.gov. That email address is agenda followed by the number 5 with no space at waterboards.ca.gov. Include speaker comment in the subject line so that we can follow up with you. For those in the Zoom meeting, you will be on mute and your camera turned off until it is your turn to speak. Our meeting host, Gene Coughlin from our IT team, will then unmute you and ask you to turn on your your camera if you have one. When you are done speaking, the board members have completed asking questions, you will be placed on mute and your camera will be turned off. And we appreciate your patience during this extraordinary time. And we also want to extend our apologies for the delay we had this morning. This is one of those examples during COVID that we all have to experience. So thank you for your patience. I will now introduce our board members as follows. Carmen Ramirez of Atwater, Raji Braun of Bakersfield. We have Mark Bradford of Sacramento, Sean Yang of Sacramento, Nick Avdis of Sacramento, and I'm Denise Kadar from Allensworth. State Board Member Nicole Morgan is participating in this meeting and will give an update to the board a little later. I will now like to introduce Patrick Palupa, who will introduce our staff.
Good morning, Acting Chair Kadara, members of the board, members of the public. Thank you for bearing with us as we work through technical difficulties. And no matter how deep into this we get, there's always a little bit of a wrinkle. I really extend my thanks to Bob Chow and Gene as they kind of work through these issues on the fly. They've been doing it for a little over 2 years now. So a lot of kudos goes out to them for getting out the resources that they need to staff. With us today, virtually, we have Clint Snyder, Assistant Executive Officer in the Reading office, JJ Baum and Adam Lapitz, Assistant Executive Officers here in our Rancho Cordova office, Clay Rogers, Assistant Executive Officer in the Fresno office, and we have attorneys Jessica Yar, David Lancaster, Bailey Toft Dupuis, and I think Chris Moskal is able to make it today as well. I know he's splitting some time between a couple regional boards right now, but we do have a full complement of attorneys there. Helping us out as well, we have Janelle Brown. She's filling in for Mindy as Mindy's on a bit of a medical leave right now. And then we also have Kelly Garver, our administrative officer, who's on the line. All of them have been scrambling behind the scenes to make sure that folks get the appropriate links, appropriate messages as we kind of begin what is about 2 years of these all virtual meetings. And that's it from me. I would like to just flag for everybody. Thankfully, I think the era of meeting virtually will end tomorrow, and we will be back into a meeting in person down in Fresno in April. But we will retain the option to participate, at least in some board matters, via the Zoom platform. So we'll make sure that that's up and running and capable when we start our board meeting in Fresno in April. With that, I'll return it to you, Acting Chair Kadara. Let you proceed with the agenda.
Thank you very much. Yes, Nick, would you lead the pledge for us, please?
It would be my pleasure, Acting Chair. Please join me, salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which would be the board member communications. Do we have any board member communications this morning?
Hi, Denise. I've got just a few minor ones. I had a conversation with Patrick as requested regarding the new working groups that he has proposed. And we're going to be taking that up later in this meeting. And then Patrick and I met with Nicole Morgan, just kind of an introductory meeting for lunch on January 27th. And then Denise, you and I, as you know, worked with Emil and got Patrick's performance evaluation finalized. I had a few conversations with the AEOs and some other folks that work directly with Patrick, kind of informally, to get the input related to that. And that was about it. I did have a nice conversation with Dr. Longley, just kind of touching base after his departure. So it's always good to talk to him, and I hope we do see him in April.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other board member communications? Okay, well, since I'm the acting chair, I have a, Carmen, do you have any communications? Okay, yeah, I have a few.
Denise?
Yes.
Before you go, I could share just a bit. Yeah, I just want to share with the board and the public that I just communicate with Patrick and a couple of the local farm representative in Fresno about our meeting in March 3rd, and just trying to make sure that we do all we can to get the most representative attend. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a few meetings here, and I'll forward this to Janelle. On the 20th of December, I participated in the dairy petition ex parte meetings. Also, that was on February 14th of February as well. January 6th, I met with a state water board briefing with Yvonne West, the direct officer of enforcement director. On January 7th, I went on a tour with a dairy tour, and that was in Turlock. On the 10th of January, we had a dairy briefing. The 13th of January, we did a CV Salts Executive Committee meeting, and then we also had one on the 14th of February. Let's see. And then on January 20th, I did a phone conversation with senior staff at the California Legislative Black Caucus regarding some Allensworth projects. The 21st of January, I met with Clay Rogers regarding some unregulated cattle feedlots in the community of Allensworth. The 24th, we had a CV Salts early action plan meeting. 27th of January, I met with the racial equity team that worked on the state water board racial equity resolution. And February, I did a call with Supervisor Vanderpool, the county supervisor for our area. I met with him along with Dr. Longley, representatives from Self-Help Enterprise, and other representatives to discuss consolidated wastewater treatment planning for Southwest Tulare County disadvantaged communities. And then we had a meeting shortly thereafter with a follow-up meeting. That was on February 4th, and that was with State Water Board Vice Chair, I'm getting tongue-tied here, Dadamo, regarding the same discussion. She provided input and how we could look at dealing with this consolidated waste treatment facility and also in addressing water quality issues as well. Then on February 7th, I met with the State Water Board Office of Public Participation staff, Molly Williams, regarding an interview about Allensworth and its water issues. And February 7th, there was a monthly chairs meeting for the regional water boards. We had the pre-agenda meeting on February 14th, quite busy on Valentine's Day. I was in a lot of meetings. And then February 15th, we did the environmental justice meeting regarding early action plans. And so that concludes all of the meetings that I attended. So if we have no more discussion on board communications, we'll move forward on our agenda to agenda item 17. This item was actually moved from the Friday's calendar for today. And I'd like to call up Nicole Morgan, the State Water Board Liaison, to provide an update to the board.
Good morning, Acting Chair Kadara and members of the board. I'm happy to be here this morning and to provide you a liaison report. So statewide residential water use for December was 65 gallons per capita per day, also known as GCPD, in line with many recent wet Decembers. We saw a 16.2% statewide savings for December relative to 2020, with a cumulative savings of 7.4%. On January 4th, the State Board held a workshop to receive comments on both a petition for reconsideration of a 2021 temporary use change petition, also known as TUCP, and on the 2022 TUCP application that asks for modification of certain terms of the Central Valley Project and the State Water Project from February 1st through April 30th, 2022. On January 18th, the Department of Water Resources and the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation withdrew their 2022 TUCP. On February 4th, the State Board released a revised draft order regarding petitions for reconsideration of the June 2021 TUCP modifying flow and water quality requirements, and the Executive Director's approval of the 2021 final Sacramento River Temperature Management Plan. The public comment ended on February 11th. And the State Board hearing actually was on February 15th, in which we adopted the order. On February 2nd, staff hosted a public webinar on the Safer 2022 Drinking Water Needs Assessment. State Board staff proposed changes to indicators used in the risk assessment and affordability assessment for public water system. Expansion of the list of water systems included a risk assessment and a new combined methodology for risk assessment for the state's small water systems and domestic wells. Staff provided an overview of the cost estimate for SB 552 requirements, drought planning for small water suppliers and rural communities. So changing subjects to water loss performance standard regulations. The proposed water loss performance standard regulation currently being considered by the State Board is designed to bring water losses to levels that are cost effective and feasible for each urban retail water supplier. Staff held a public hearing providing a detailed overview of the proposed regulation. Overall framework, timeline, and proposed requirements on February 10th. The comment period ended on February 11th. The State Board is expected to consider adoption of the final regulation in the second quarter of 2022. Division of Water Quality staff are working on the reissuance of the sanitary sewer system waste discharge requirements. The general order requires public agencies to report sewer spills, develop a sewer system management plan, and conduct internal sewer program audits. The regional boards enforce the general order with assistance from the State Board's Office of Enforcement. On February 23rd and 24th, staff will host a workshop to provide further information regarding the proposed general order reissuance. An additional board workshop will be held to receive public comments on March 15th. The public comment period ends on April 8th. The drinking water arrearage program has closed. The payment status of applications as of January 28th is posted on the State Board's website. We received 680 applications, totaling a little over $302 million in funding requested for approximately 534,500 accounts in arrearage. At its January 19th board meeting, the State Board adopted the proposed wastewater arrearage program fact sheets for wastewater agencies and customers on the State Board's website. Wastewater treatment providers that accrued residential and/or commercial customer arrearages during the COVID pandemic relief period, which is March 4th, 2020 through June 15th, 2021, can apply. State Board staff have been working closely with the regional boards on the program and greatly appreciate the regional board's assistance and collaboration on this effort. So that concludes my report for this board meeting. If you have any questions, please let me know. And as always, please feel free to reach out at any time with any questions.
Thank you very much, Nicole. I do appreciate your presentation, and I'd like to ask the board members if you have any questions or comments for our State Board liaison this morning.
This is Carmen Ramirez. I just have to say, after hearing Nicole's report, it reminds me of how much I miss seeing her at our regular meetings. So it's an excellent report. It's good information, and it's information that's helpful, just on discussions that I have in this area about water and water saving. So even though you're not with our board anymore, it's great to have you as a liaison, Nicole. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Carmen. It's really great to be your liaison and get to see you guys in this capacity. I miss Region 5.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Carmen, for those comments. All right, thank you very much. And then we'll move on if there are no more comments or questions for State Board member Nicole. We'll go.
Well, I would also like to express my thanks. Nicole reached out to some of our newer board members to help say hello to them in these very unusual times that we're in right now. And I know that was very appreciated. And again, as always, I think it's your updates provide a window into the complexity of the issues that are being addressed by the State Board. And it's always daunting. We certainly have a big task here, and then you bring your updates, and we know the universe of issues that you wrestle with are even larger at the State Board. So much appreciated, Nicole. Good to see you virtually.
If I may, Denise.
Go ahead.
Yes. So Nicole, I had a chance obviously to meet you. I very much appreciate the time you spent kind of as a new board member, obviously continuing to feel kind of our way out in the universe here. So very much appreciate getting to know you and look forward to, obviously getting to know you further, and do appreciate these updates. As Patrick said, it definitely provides a really good perspective on some of the issues that you're dealing with at the state level. So thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you very much. We do appreciate your presentation this morning, Nicole. Our next item is agenda number 3, and we're dealing with public comments at this time. Janelle, do we have anyone that submitted email requesting to speak on any topic that is not on the agenda this morning?
Yes, we have 4 commenters this morning, and the first one will be April Primo.
Thank you. Okay, Jean, will you unmute?
Go ahead.
Sure, Adam.
Go ahead.
is with April.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
We do hear you.
Okay, my name's April Primo, and I live at 746 Bliss Road in Ceres. I can't look at you because I have a disability. I have visual perception problems, and this makes me sick. I asked to do it in public, you know, where I met you personally, but they said I couldn't do that. So I'm here because of a dairy that we live next to. And I came to the California Regional Quality Board in 2006 to tell you we had a cancer cluster in our neighborhood, and that SNS Dairy had put in 2 illegal ponds with incorrect setbacks. I brought with me a copy of the neighborhood water test we had done. One lady had 220 nitrates. Since then, she's died of cancer. You sent Duncan Austin to our neighborhood. He tested 2 houses and told us to keep testing. But what good does it do to test if there's no solution? The Water Quality Board issued permits, but made SNS Dairy do the setbacks. The issue concerning SNS Dairy has continued until now for various reasons. On January 18th, 2022, SNS Dairy ran manure water down our road 455 feet from the acreage he was irrigating. Our road is a private road and owned by the landowners. Our wells are ruined, and we now get free water from the state of California. We still have to take baths in contaminated water, and our cancer rate is 66%. Out there in our area, they're putting in huge lagoons because of the fact that they're taking the methane gas off. And we want the lagoon anywhere near our property. It needs to be put on the west side of the 3 lagoons already there. The digester makes a lot of noise. There's a bad odor. And after the gas is taken off, they have to put the manure back into the regular lagoons. The other thing we didn't want any more manure placed on the parcel across from Bliss Road of our property. The entire piece of property is not owned by SNS Dairy. The county put a road in wrong, and 15 to 20 feet on the north side of the road is owned by the people on the south side of the road. So my neighbors own part of that property, and he's still putting manure on it. We want SNS Dairy fined for running water down our road and our property. He just put in the levees 2 days before he irrigated. There couldn't have been animal damage. This field just came out of almonds a year ago, and I believe it's the first time he irrigated with manure water. When I came home from the meeting the night of the 18th, the water was running everywhere. There was no one around to watch the water, and the water was running over the top of the levees. As of 2008, ADA included cancer as a disability. We have a 65% cancer rate out there. We're asking that you do these things under ADA accommodations. Not only is our health being ruined, but our property values are being ruined. Do we have any questions? Okay.
Yes, are there any questions from board members regarding what Ms. Primo has spoken about? Any questions or comments for her?
Not for Ms. Primo, but I would like to ask Patrick to maybe address some of the questions that were raised.
Yes, so what Ms. Primo has said is accurate. There was a spill from the dairy facility as documented in the letters that she is providing to you. We'll forward them your way. There was a spill from the dairy facility that compliance and enforcement staff followed up with. That's referenced in a letter from 9 February 2022. We are continuing to do investigations at the dairy facility. Part of those discussions are happening at the enforcement side. So those would be kind of prosecutorial discussions that may be the subject of future board action. So I'm kind of limited in what I can say to the board at this point in time. I will say compliance and enforcement, the dairy compliance unit, are investigating this discharge as something that could be subject to a formal enforcement action, such as an administrative civil liability order or others. With respect to some of the land use decisions, there is talk of getting a dairy digester up and running at this facility. That would be permitted under the dairy digester general order. And but some of the land use decisions are issues that the county would be permitting through conditional use permitting authority. But I think most importantly, I just want to let you know that our team, Danny Gammon, Brian Botsford, the compliance enforcement unit at the dairy facility, were made aware of that spill, came on site, investigated it, and are currently pursuing it for additional follow-up actions. That's probably the extent of what we can say here right now, because we may do additional enforcement actions such as an ACL that could come before the board at a later time.
Okay. Are there any more questions or comments regarding Ms. Primo's public statements? Well, Ms. Primo, we certainly appreciate you coming and sharing your concerns. And as our executive officer said, the investigation is underway, and we really hope that you will get some resolution to the concerns that you've raised.
Thank you.
And Ms. Primo, as we had a conversation ahead of time, we will be meeting in person in Fresno in April. And should you want to continue to address the board, we will have an opportunity for you to address the board in person at that meeting as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Janelle, are there any other presenters? Public comments?
Next up, we have Felix Smith.
I don't see a Felix Smith, unless it's a phone number, perhaps.
Phone number, last three digits, 081.
Yes, I'm asking to unmute. You may unmute on a cell phone. You use the
Thank you.
*6.
Yes. I'm Felix Smith. I live in Sacramento, California. And today I'm representing myself, Save the American River Association, and those people interested in migratory birds in the San Joaquin Valley. I was a member of the Fish and Wildlife Service drainage team in 1983 that found the first deformed bird at Kesselson Refuge in the San Joaquin Valley. That's 1983. The National Audubon Society decision came down regarding the public trust that same year, but in February of '83. I want to draw your attention to a preventable travesty called Mud Slough Restoration Project. This project is routing San Joaquin, San Luis drained water containing 5 parts per million and more to federal wetlands at Newman Lake and the state of California's China Island as an alternate water supply. Federal and state interest and public trust interest are involved. The Grasslands has a selenium standard of 2 parts per million. No less a standard should be allowed for other wetlands. The selenium at 5 parts per billion, 4-day average up to 20 objective is clearly not protective of waterfowl and wetland beneficial uses. I do not believe that routing the drain and runoff to such wetlands as an alternative supply was analyzed for possible impacts or analyzed by the federal or state endangered species or their consultations. I urge you to take action. Open up the waste discharge permit for Mud Slough. Adopt the Grassland Water District 2 parts per million selenium standard. And prohibit any discharge to Newman Lake, China Island wetlands. To allow the selenium-laced waters to federal and state wetlands will likely have serious biological impacts, would devalue mitigation efforts and federal agreements. The people do not need another Kesselson wetland disaster, especially one that is endorsed by this board. Using the Kesselson National Wildlife Mitigation Lands as disposal for San Luis drainage and runoff is doesn't make sense to me. It is clear to me that those who ignore the Kensington history and the wildlife disaster are bound to make the same mistake again. That's my today. I understand that the copy of this statement was given to the staff members. Any questions?
Do we have any questions from board members regarding Mr. Smith's comments?
If I could, I think, is Richard McHenry on the line? He's going to make a similar comments, I think, on the same subject, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Hi, Patrick.
And for those of you who don't recognize Richard McHenry's voice or name, he was one of the regional board and then the state board's most expert water quality enforcement folks. Quite a little while ago. I won't say quite a while ago. Little while ago. So, and I have a feeling that you're going to speak on the same subject, Richard. So yeah. I'll invite you to do that, and then I can kind of respond to some of the to both questions at once.
Okay.
Well, good morning, Madam Chair, board members. I am Richard McHenry. I am representing the California Sports Fishing Protection Alliance, and I was unaware that of the presentation you just heard, and so I apologize if I'm repetitive in some regards. The regional board adopted waste discharge requirements for the Grasslands bypass project in December of 2019. This WDR allows stormwater flows commingled with groundwater contaminants, including selenium, to be routed from the San Luis drain to Mud Slough North from 2020 to 2035. In December 2021, the San Luis and Delta Mendota Water Authority adopted a mitigated negative declaration for a new project, the Mud Slough Restoration Project. This project will reroute flows in Mud Slough North to private wetlands at Newman Lake, which are protected by a federal easement, and to the North Grasslands Wildlife Area, China Island Unit. The WDR did not consider the impacts of routing mud slough flows downstream of the San Luis drains to wetlands. The mitigated negative declaration for the Mud Slough Restoration Project likewise did not analyze water quality impacts of routing mud slough flows to wetlands. The WDR lists water quality objectives for selenium in mud slough as 5 micrograms per liter as a 4-day average, and an acute maximum of 20 micrograms per liter. These selenium objectives are not protective of wetlands beneficial uses, and concentrations at these levels and lower have been documented to cause reproductive failure and deformities in fish and wildlife. No explanation is provided in the Mud Slough Restoration Project mitigated negative deck or the Grasslands bypass project WDR as to why China Island State Wildlife Area and Newman Lake wetlands are not afforded the same level of protection for water quality of 2 micrograms per liter for selenium for both Salt Slough and the Grasslands wetland supply channels. The Mud Slough Restoration Project, governed by the WDR, would devalue wetland easements totaling $1.5 million to Newman Land Company, which includes Newman Lake, because the routing of these discharges that contain contaminants are harmful to migratory birds, waterfowl, fish, and wildlife, and would damage these wetland investments. Further, as specified in Board Order 87-149, lands at China Island were included in the plan to mitigate the closure of Kesterson Reservoir. This order states that the long-term mitigation program shall provide for no net loss of wetlands acreage and no net loss of wildlife values. The mud slough restoration project governed by the WDR could undermine and devalue the mitigation lands acquired at China Island wetlands area by allowing poorer water quality from the San Luis Drain to be rerouted to these wetland areas. The Grasslands Bypass Project, WDR, includes reopening and revision language. The regional board staff provided an update recently to the board, but there was no mention of the mud slough restoration project, nor the need to revise the WDR at this meeting. Because the water quality impacts of routing stormwater discharges from the San Luis Drain to wetlands was not considered in the WDR, the TMDL for selenium in the lower San Joaquin River, nor the San Joaquin River Basin land, the regional board should reopen the WDR and revise the water quality requirements for mud slough north to protect wildlife habitat, beneficial uses in China Island area, wildlife area, and Newman Lake. We urge the regional board to revise the basin plan to require that water quality provided to China Island and Newman Lake meet EPA's revised chronic criteria for selenium of 1.5 micrograms per liter as a monthly mean, or at least 2 micrograms per liter as a monthly mean objectives for the Grasslands wetland supply channels. In summary, the proposal will discharge San Luis drain waters high in selenium between 5 and 20 parts per billion to federally protected private wetlands at Newman Lake and the state of California's China Island. These levels of selenium have been shown to be toxic to aquatic life. CSPA is requesting that the board adopt protective standards in an NPDES permit or prohibit this discharge to these wetlands. The Grasslands Water District has a standard of 2 parts per billion, which should be applied at these adjacent wetlands. Hopefully, lessons from the Kesterson wildlife disaster of selenium discharged into sensitive wetlands, causing deformities and reproductive failure, will not be repeated here.
Okay, Richard, excuse me, are you almost done?
I am done right now. I was just going to say thank you very much for the opportunity to provide your comments.
All right, thank you so very much. We do appreciate it. All right, Patrick, would you like to respond to Richard and to comments made by Felix on this issue?
Yeah, no, you bet. Honestly, this is kind of one of the most, this is one of the most complicated plumbing questions in the state of California. I think as both Felix and Richard mentioned, selenium lies at the nexus of many of the water quality issues here. Selenium can build up especially in wetlands areas that can bioaccumulate, and when birds ingest it, it can have absolutely devastating effects on birds. In addition, and I think the board will remember this both from the more recent discussion that we had just a few months ago, as well as a median going, I think it was 2019 as well, and additional meetings to discuss selenium in fish, specifically split tail that showed up with deformities in 2011. All of these issues kind of point to the fact that selenium is a tough chemical to regulate. It is naturally occurring in this area. The board's strategy, and kind of the strategy that the San Luis and Delta Mendota Canal Bureau of Reclamation put together, was to essentially cut off the irrigation flow of selenium to surface waters in this area and kind of put that back on the field so it wouldn't impact surface waters. That project has largely been successful, but as Richard and Felix are pointing out, there's still a selenium load in those waters. And the issue is that we're kind of discussing here, and that's been touched on here, is that there's now a restoration project that's been lined up. It's currently pending at the state board. They're considering a 401 water quality certification. And the big question is, along with this restoration project, they plan on reconnecting some waterways that have been dormant, frankly, since the late or mid 1980s. And our basin plan amendment, which we've gone through, we thought we did a pretty good job. Our basin plan amendment does not discuss what water quality objectives for selenium would apply to those new water bodies that would essentially receive the new flows from this restoration project. So we've got a handful of numbers floating out there. There are the TMDL numbers that the board adopted. There are different numbers for what are called lentic water bodies and other water bodies, basically depending on how fast water moves through the system. The slower it moves, the more vulnerable a wildlife is kind of where the science is going. And then there are US EPA recommended standards that are currently in discussion as well. The question really is, what number should apply to this restoration project? Normally, we would go right to the basin plan. We'd look up the number in the basin plan. We'd try to figure out what would be required there. We've got a TMDL in place, which usually has more specificity. But because these water bodies are not specific to our basin plan, because they're kind of new, there's not a clear answer as to what number applies. So Mr. McHenry, Mr. Smith are essentially asking us to revise existing waste discharge requirements to put the more protective number in. We're taking a hard look at that because we saw those fish tissue numbers potentially associated with the split tail deformities. And I think the second request that I heard in there was to reopen the basin plan to really clarify what number would apply in these wetlands channels where there could be some vulnerabilities. We're taking all of that under consideration, and I think we will have an answer one way or the other. The big, more immediate question I think that we're kind of looking at is we are working with the state board because the state board has the permit for the restoration project. The state water board is working on a water quality certification. They'll have to answer some of these questions. They'll have to answer whether the CEQA document for this restoration project was done appropriately. We don't have somebody from the state board to kind of talk on that today, but Adam and his team are working with the state board to try and figure out what are the appropriate numbers there. My commitment to the board, to Mr. McHenry, to Mr. Smith, and to frankly the proponents of this project is that we are going to maintain coordination. We're going to get a response out to the letter that came in from the environmental groups that basically say what the board can answer and what the board can't answer right now. And we'll continue to look at this issue moving forward. Personally, I think the matter, I would have said the matter was totally dealt with before the split tail deformities came into the picture and suggested that a lower limit might be what was required to be protective. We're sorting through all that science right now. Frankly, the request is for a different number to apply to that project. I fully anticipate as the state board considers the project, it'll be in the same position that you, the regional board members, will be in, trying to decide between a lot of competing science when there isn't a clear regulatory answer in place as to what number would apply. And we'll kind of reserve judgment on that. I know Nicole Morgan is still on the call, so we'll kind of not prejudge any kind of decision that the state board is going to do, but just to say that all these comments are noted, all these points that are being made are good ones, and we're going to work with the state board and our scientific team to try and address those, both in a letter response to the letter that we received and as the state board works through their 401 water quality certification. I know that doesn't give any clear answers today, but I just did want to extend the commitment that we are looking at this and we'll continue to look at this. Selenium is a particularly dangerous chemical if not regulated appropriately. So, we're putting the time and effort in to making sure that our numbers are right and trying to lend our expertise to the state board as well to make sure that whatever decisions they make are founded on solid science as well. Any other questions? Again, I think Mr. McHenry and Mr. Smith could also answer some questions there, but their concerns are absolutely valid. it's things that we're looking at very hard too.
All right. Thank you very much, Patrick. Do board members have any questions or comments?
I guess my only question, Patrick, might be, do you have any kind of a timeline?
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, well, we're going to be checking in with State Board again to see what their timeline is for the 401 water quality certification approval. I will say that, one of the things that they're weighing, same as, you would be weighing if you were the ones adopting the permit, is the lower numbers might kick that project back to the drawing board because some of those lower numbers can't be met. There's not actually a discharge per se happening in that area, which is kind of one of the more confounding issues there. There's both a natural selenium load and stormwater load coming off of that. Carl spoke at length about how he used to investigate selenium. That's kind of some of his early research was on selenium loads in this area. So even before human intervention in this area, there was natural selenium load, and that's kind of something that we try to take into account with the TMDL, and I'm sure the State Board is kind of wrestling with that same issue as well as they kind of look forward towards a restoration project. But bottom line is we have to protect beneficial uses, including aquatic life beneficial uses, including wildlife beneficial uses, which include the avian species in that area. So we have to make sure that the number is protective of all of those species in that area.
So just to be clear, so there isn't a current timeline or schedule that applies to this issue?
We'll check in with the State Board. I think they're the ones with the 401 certification that they will have the most immediate kind of time frame that they'll respond to. We're looking to get a letter out as soon as possible. We will make sure that we're not stepping on anybody's toes as we kind of put our own conclusions out there.
Okay. Yeah, maybe this will be a continued item for our next meeting.
It is tangentially mentioned in the triennial review as well, because the suggestion that we would need to revise our basin plan is something that we will be discussing as part of the triennial review too.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Thank you, Patrick. Any more comments or questions from the board? All right. Thank you very much. Janelle, do we have our next public commenter?
That will be all for now, unless Candy Carlson has logged on.
Okay. Thank you very much, Janelle. We'd like to move on to our next item, agenda item number 4, our executive officer's report. The executive officer is available to take any questions on the executive officer's report. And then again, Janelle, do we have any interested persons that have submitted an email to comment on the report?
Not for this item.
All right, thank you very much. Then I'll ask board members, do you have any comments or questions regarding the executive officer's report that's been presented? No? No comments? Well, Patrick, as usual, you and the staff do a great job in putting together the executive officer's report. We definitely appreciate it. It keeps us informed on all the activities that are going on, and we really appreciate the information that's in it. It shows the work that's being done by the staff and for the regional board here, and we certainly appreciate all of the work that you do that goes into this report. So thank you very much.
There are it is reflective of all the work that we have been able to accomplish in the midst of the pandemic. I think one thing that we are focusing as a management team on is what our return to the office strategy will be. There's a lot of discussion about how to keep staff safe and how to really maintain the quality of life gains that we've met through the telework policy to allow enhanced telework, but still keep the mission of the board intact. We do want additional collaboration, as the team here knows. I've been meeting individually, virtually, with every single one of the new hires that have come onto the board since the pandemic began. And many of them are hungry, shall we say, for increased collaboration. They are really kind of well aware of the state policies and our kind of policies as a vertical communication through the organization. But I think just about all of them are interested in having more of those conversations that they used to have when they were able to just walk over to somebody's cubicle with a bit more experience on a particular site, or who have dealt with similar issues. And also meeting with the public and meeting with dischargers is something that we will be ramping back up again as we continue to reopen the office. As you know, this is kind of the hopefully the last of the virtual meetings that we have, barring any kind of unforeseen circumstances. The mask rules here in the office changed as of yesterday. Sacramento County lifted its mask mandate, and now we're just at folks who are chosen to be unvaccinated or chosen not to state whether they're vaccinated or not are the only ones that are required to wear a mask in the office. So certainly there are a lot of staff that are free to wear a mask if that's what their personal kind of safety feels like they have to do best. So a lot of those are the discussions that we're having in addition to what's in the EO report. I've got just a few awards this morning too to kind of hand out as well to team members. And so unless there are additional questions on the EO report, I will go right into that.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
All right. First up, we have Jeff Hannell. Is Jeff here? They're often on Zoom as well. Feel free to raise your hand if you are.
No, I'm here.
Oh, fantastic.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you just fine, Jeff.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, Jeff is an engineering geologist in the Central Valley Water Board's Fresno office, and he's worked as part of the Compliance Enforcement Unit for Non-15 and NPDES programs. Jeff is being recognized for his outstanding work performance on facility inspections, complaint reviews and responses, sanitary sewer overflow SSO oversight, non-15 site regulation, and wildfire debris removal volunteer work for Cal Recycle. And I know he was incredible in that work. Got a lot of good feedback from that. Jeff joined the Central Valley Water Board in 1999, bringing with him many years of consulting experience. Since joining the Compliance and Enforcement Unit, Jeff has successfully applied his past experience and technical skills to effectively regulate and bring into compliance both municipal and industrial wastewater treatment facilities. Jeff provides regulatory oversight for non-15 regulated sites, including SSOs and complaints in Fresno, Kern, Kings, Madera, Mariposa, Merced, Tulare, and Tuolumne counties. Jeff is the primary staff person who evaluates groundwater monitoring networks and associated results of non-15 sites for compliance. And Jeff coordinates all complaints received through the Cal EPA complaint system for the Fresno office. Jeff also volunteered for wildfire deployment work and was deployed for 1 month during the quarter of this award. During the 2 months of that quarter, Jeff was not deployed. Jeff completed 13 inspections, including write-ups, reviewed and approved a pond closure report, reviewed and approved groundwater monitoring well installation work plan, and revised a monitoring and reporting program and inspected a sanitary sewer overflow in Tuolumne County. Jeff is a valuable asset of the Compliance and Enforcement Unit. In addition to his excellent attitude and professional demeanor, Jeff willingly and enthusiastically works on any project he is given. He has the ability to quickly complete investigations, reviews, and write-ups, and as a result, completes a large volume of work. Jeff carries with him a level of professionalism and dedication that well represents the Central Valley Water Board. Russ Walls is recommending that Jeff receive this award. I wholeheartedly concur. I do miss working with you one-on-one, Jeff, when I was an attorney here. I know your work is very, very highly respected throughout the board, and congratulations on this award.
Thank you very much. I did enjoy working with you also. And when I was in the UST unit, I got one of these awards for being in that unit too, but we worked on an ACL, as I recall, but one of the few ones we ever got out on the UST side of things. Thank you again for all the accolades.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. I very much appreciate your work, and this award obviously is well deserved.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Jeff.
All right, next up is Susan Freegain. Are you here?
You may unmute, Susan. There she is.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Susan is an integral part of the Irrigated Lands Regulatory Program. You've heard with her before. She's worked quite a bit on just about all of the irrigated lands programs, and especially those concerning wetlands as a particular specialty area, and is instrumental in the achievement of many of the Irrigated Lands Regulatory Program successes. In addition to supervising all staff members who oversee Northern Agricultural Coalition activities, Susan manages the USGS Split Tail contract, facilitated the Managed Wetlands Work Group, coordinates with State Board's ELAP, that's Environmental Lab Accreditation Program staff, on obtaining the desired minimum reporting level for imidacloprid, supervises region-wide ILRP surface data entry into SEDEN, that's our integrated environmental data system, and review of pesticide evaluation proposals, and much, much more. During the last quarter of 2021, Susan successfully brought a resolution to exempt managed wetlands from the ILRP for the general orders regulating the Northern Coalitions. Susan had previously worked on exempting managed wetlands from the Tulare Lake Basin Irrigated Lands General Orders in 2016. In December, she assisted with bringing the Grasslands bypass project information item to the board. Susan handles the myriad of tasks she is responsible for with great poise, professionalism, and skill. She excels as a technical expert and as a supervisor. While teleworking, Susan has used her organizational skills to keep her staff engaged and accountable. She has done an excellent job of adjusting to the remote work environment with the effective use of more online tools. For these reasons and so much more, Susan is truly deserving of the Superior Accomplishment recognition, and that recommendation was put forward by Sue McConnell. Again, I greatly endorse that recommendation and just want to extend my congratulations to you, Susan, for this award.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and just want to acknowledge everybody on our team that has worked on all these issues. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations, Susan.
Thank
Great
you,
job.
Denise.
Yes, great job.
You know, to be honest, there are few staff members that are so warmly regarded as Susan throughout the board. I really appreciate all the work and mentoring that you've done for the staff within that unit.
You're on mute, Patrick.
There you go. I have to do it once per meeting, I suppose. Next up is Ann Walters. Ann, are you there?
Ann is able to unmute.
Yeah, hi.
Well, Ann is very well known to the board and is today receiving a Superior Accomplishment Award for her work as a member of the planning section here at the Central Valley Water Board. She's being recognized in particular for her efforts to lead the Central Valley Salinity Alternatives for Long-Term Sustainability Program, a high priority program for the Central Valley Water Board. The implementation of the CV Salts program is complex as it involves the entire Central Valley and affects many programs at the Central Valley Water Board. There are 2 control programs consisting of 2 compliance pathways each, new innovative methods for controlling contaminants, and many urgent deadlines as the control programs are addressing dire contamination issues, including contaminated drinking water. Ann has managed the many moving parts of CV Salts implementation and coordination both internally and externally with grace and positive attitude. She is very personable and friendly and makes everyone feel at ease while tackling enormous challenges of CV Salts implementation. Her leadership skills have been a critical asset to the successful implementation of the program in coordination with multiple programs within the Central Valley Water Board. Ann is well deserving of this Superior Accomplishment recognition and is a true champion for implementing the Central Valley Water Board's mission. You know, Ann, I know we could not have done CV Salts without you. The word that stands out to me in this recognition is the word grace. I don't think I could have said it better than Meredith in articulating that. Grace under pressure is something that seldom comes naturally, but I think think you exhibit it in just about every action that you do. It's always high pressure, and you always manage to have one of the coolest heads in the room as we're talking about this controversial program. So my congratulations to you, and thanks for all your work.
Thank you so much. I really, the thanks goes to the great staff and the management that I get to work with every day. So I appreciate that.
And on behalf of the board, Anne, we certainly like to congratulate you for the award. I know you stepped in when I can't remember her name when she retired, and you haven't missed a beat. Everything has continued to move forward. So we're very grateful for the work that you and your team did. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, and last but certainly not least is Patrick DeCavarlo. Let's see here.
I don't see him, Patrick.
He may be on the YouTube link. I'd certainly want to take the opportunity to recognize him today. Patrick is really one of the keystones to the Central Valley Water Board's Reading office. He works in the office's Title 27 unit since March 2017, managing the permitting, compliance, and enforcement elements for 30 landfills and surface impoundments. Since joining the water boards, he has inspected each facility at least once, averaged 2 waste discharge requirements revisions a year, and has taken on the Title 27 elements for several mine projects. During this time, Patrick pursued and obtained his professional engineering license and provides support to his colleagues with documents for their cases which require professional engineering review. Patrick is being recognized for his work on the Neal Road landfill, which serves the Chico area, the Reading office's largest active landfill. He recently issued revised waste discharge requirements for public comment, which will be considered for adoption here at this board meeting. Preparation of this revised permit was particularly challenging because the facility has undergone significant changes in the last 10 years and has ongoing water board enforcement actions related to leachate releases to offsite stormwater during the 2019 winter season. Following the 2019 wet season, Patrick worked closely with the facility to ensure it has adequate capacity and operational procedures in place to manage its stormwater and minimize leachate generation. He continues to respond to concerned stakeholders' inquiries regarding the facility. Patrick approaches his work with a consistently positive attitude. He is known within our office for his detailed inspection reports and high-quality work progress. The Reading office's management team appreciates his reliability and organizational skills in managing a demanding caseload. A recommendation was provided by his supervisor, David Durrett, and again, my congratulations go out to Patrick today for this award, which is well earned.
All right. Patrick, congratulations to Patrick, although he's not with us this morning, but we certainly appreciate his work. Is that your last presentation? Yeah, on behalf of the board, we want to extend our congratulations to all of the awardees for a job well done. And as we begin to move out of our virtual meetings and hopefully having staff in person, we want to commend you and the whole organization for the extraordinary work you have done during this extraordinary time.
Thank you, Denise.
All right, well, if we have no other questions or comments from the board, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, and that will be approval of our minutes from the meeting of the 9th of December, 2021. Are there any edits or corrections to these minutes, board members?
I will move approval of the minutes.
Thank you very much, Nick. And was there a second to that motion?
I can second that motion, Denise.
All right, thank you very much, Mark. It's been moved in second. Janelle, will you call the roll, please?
Excuse me, board member Brar? Just to make sure, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, we'll wait for
Roger, You are able to unmute. Perhaps the others.
Okay,
yeah.
go on.
Board Member Yang,
Aye.
Board Member, Vice Chair Ramirez,
I'm going to abstain because I
Yeah.
missed that meeting.
Yeah, so did Raji, so it would be the other 4. Thank you, Carmen.
okay, so we have, sorry about that. We have Bradford and we have, who seconded, and Abdus motioned. And then
Yang.
Raji and Yang abstain. And then, so we just have we just have Acting Chair Kadara.
Yes.
What did you say?
No, we
Yang
actually,
abstain?
no. Yang was at the meeting.
I was at the meeting and I vote yes.
Okay,
So Ms. Brown, it was Carmen Ramirez that abstained.
okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I bombed this one.
Excellent. So Janelle, take the vote from Mark and Nick, and then Acting Chair Kadara.
Okay, so Bradford seconded, right?
Yeah, he still would need to vote.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know that. Bradford?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So now we have Acting Chair Kadara, right?
Okay.
Yes, I voted, and so Nick is the other vote that's needed.
Okay, right, I'm sorry. Nick, Abdus?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, guys.
Okay. So it's been approved.
I don't think you vote yet, Dinesh.
Yes, I did. I voted.
Did you? Okay, I didn't hear you
Yeah.
say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
said yes.
Okay.
So the minutes have been approved, and we'll now move on. Thank you very much, Janelle. We'll move on to agenda item number 7, the uncontested calendar. This is a time and place for a public hearing to consider uncontested items 11 through 14. Janelle, do we have anyone submitted an email to request comments on the uncontested calendar?
We do not, but we do have some people on standby in case there are any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any late revisions?
Yes, we do have some late revisions.
Yes, go ahead, Adam.
For item 12F, it's Erickson LLC, Ingleby, U.S. Pistachio Plant, Fresno County. These late revisions are mainly just clarifications, and they have been sent to the board. The permittee knows of these revisions and is absolutely fine with them. So those are the only ones that I have. So 12F, item 12F, and then I also have a request to include an additional item in the uncontested calendar. This would be.
Hang on, Adam, 1 second. If it's item 20, we'll have a slightly different procedure because board member Abdus will recuse from 20. So let's do that as a different vote if that's possible.
You mean item 20 is, I was thinking item 10.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you want to do that separately?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. So then belay my last, I don't want to include item 10. It would just be the late revisions for item 12F. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Adam. We'll close the public hearing at this time and ask for a motion on the uncontested calendar items 11 through 14.
Board Member Kadara, this is Carmen Ramirez. I move the uncontested calendar as presented with the late revision.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Member Abdus.
Okay. Thank you very much. Janelle, would you call the roll, please? It's been moved in second to approve the uncontested calendar with late revisions items 11 through 14.
Yes, Member Brar?
Yes.
Member Yang?
Aye.
And then Bradford?
Yes.
Abdus?
Yes.
Vice Chair Ramirez?
Yes.
Chair Kadara,
Yes. Okay, it's been moved in second. Thank you. We'll move on now to item number 8. And this is the triennial review.
Denise,
Yes.
well, if I could, I think that we can do item 10 now. If there
Okay.
aren't any comments on that, we just need to take a separate vote on that.
Okay. Okay. This is for item number, agenda item number 10. This will also be added to the uncontested calendar, uncontested item. So we will need a motion, or do we, let me go down to where that item is, because I don't have it up here in front of me, sorry. Okay.
And Acting Chair Kadara, as Mr. Paloopa said, Board Member Abdis will not be participating in this item. So out of just an abundance of caution over a potential conflict of interest.
Okay. Perfect.
So this
Yes.
just real quick question. And I don't, this would be a question for council. Would we want to go through that questions of whether or not there's any comments before this, or should that kind of already be assumed as part of the uncontested? Just a question.
Well, if I was about to say that, we just want to make sure that there isn't anybody present who wants to contest or otherwise comment on this item prior to taking the board vote on it. If anybody present is wishing to contest this item, please raise your hand now, and we will delay the vote until we have your comments heard.
I do not see any hands.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jean. So we'll move on with the agenda item number 10. And that is the Sutter South LLC Lakeside at Sutter Point, Sutter County, consideration of waste discharge requirements. We will have a motion to
Board Member
approve.
Kadara.
Yes, go ahead.
I jumped in. Board Member Kadara, I would move to approve item 10 as presented.
Is there a second, board members?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Mark, and thank you, Carmen. Can we get a roll call vote on that, Janelle, for uncontested item number 10?
Thank you, Janelle. And if you could leave Board Member Abdis's name off of the roll call because he is
got it.
in this item.
Thank you, Patrick. Board Member Brar,
Yes.
Board Member Yang,
Aye.
Board Member Bradford,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ramirez,
Yes.
Acting Chair Kadara.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on now to item number 8. This is triennial review of the water quality control plans for Sacramento River and San Joaquin River basins and the Tulare Lake basins. This is the time and place for a hearing to consider adoption of the resolution approving the triennial review of the water quality control plans for the Sacramento River and San Joaquin River basins and the Tulare Lake basin. This proceeding will be conducted in accordance with the notice of public hearing and meeting procedures published in the meeting agenda. At this time, evidence should be introduced on whether the proposed action should be taken. All persons expected to testify, raise your right hand and take the following oath. Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth? If so, answer, I do.
I do.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, please state your name, address, affiliation, and whether you've taken the oath before testifying. Following the staff presentation, interested persons will be allowed 3 minutes each to address the board. A timer will be used. Does council have any legal issues to discuss at this time?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Okay. We will now begin with the staff presentation.
Acting Chair Kadara, I think the only issue that I see popping up is a few folks are asking for a 5-minute break.
Oh. All right, well, 5-minute break will be granted. And it's, I show 10:52 here. So do we want to be back at 11? Is that all right?
That will work just fine. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll be back at 11 o'clock. Thanks. Michelle, I see your hand up. Did you have something that you needed to say?
Hang on, Acting Chair. We're unmuting her now so she can talk.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yes.
You had your hands up.
I had it up because I took the oath.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll lower your hand now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And Bob, I guess that's how we would have everyone take the oath by raising their hand. Would that be appropriate, or?
That would be a good idea too, huh?
Symbolic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rob, you're going to run a presentation?
Yeah. Is it fair to begin?
Good idea.
It's 11.
Very good.
Okay. Is everyone back?
Looks like we're good to go.
Are you seeing my PowerPoint presentation?
We do, yes.
Okay. Bear with me, please. Thank you. Hello, Acting Chair Kadara and members of the board. My name is Robert LaRue, and I am a Senior Water Resources Control Engineer in the Basin Planning section at the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board. Today, I will be presenting on the 2021 Triennial Review of the region's basin plans. For this presentation, I'm going to provide you with some background of what the Triennial Review is and take you through the process of the 2021 Triennial Review. I will discuss the proposed 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan. I will go over the comments received on the work plan and those that resulted in recommended changes to the work plan through an addendum. And finally, I will provide time for questions and comments, upon the conclusion of which I would ask that you adopt a resolution approving the 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan and addendum. The water quality control plans, or basin plans, are foundational documents for our regulatory programs. The preparation and adoption of basin plans is required by California Water Code Section 13240 and supported by the Federal Clean Water Act. The basin plans designate beneficial uses for both surface water and groundwater, establish water quality objectives to protect beneficial uses, establish implementation plans that describe the actions necessary to achieve water quality objectives, and describe surveillance and monitoring activities to determine regulatory compliance. The Central Valley region has two basin plans, one for the Sacramento River and San Joaquin River basins, and one for the Tulare Lake Basin. The areas addressed by each basin plan are illustrated in this slide. State law requires a periodic review of our basin plans. Federal law is clearer, requiring a review every 3 years. The Triennial Review is a public process to solicit comments on water quality issues in the Central Valley that may need to be addressed through basin plan amendments. Staff then prepare a work plan that describes the actions the Regional Water Board may take over the next 3 years to investigate and respond to the issues. As part of the work plan, staff include a priority list of potential projects that may result in basin plan amendments. And the work plan and project list are used to direct basin planning efforts over the subsequent 3 years. The last Triennial Review was completed in 2018. Since then, there have been additional amendments to the basin plans. The following amendments have been adopted by this board and are fully in effect. Control of pyrethroid pesticide discharges, adding electrical conductivity water quality objectives in the San Joaquin River, and the CV salts amendments to establish a Central Valley-wide salt and nitrate control program. One additional amendment has been adopted by this board, but is not yet fully in effect. revisions to the amendments to the water quality control plans for the Sacramento River and San Joaquin River basins and the Tulare Lake Basin to incorporate a Central Valley-wide salt and nitrate control program. Please note that this is a separate amendment from the previous slide. In addition to the projects being prioritized for the next 3 years as part of this triennial review, staff in the basin planning section have other responsibilities that require staff time. Some examples include existing basin planning commitments like CV salts implementation, supporting statewide plans and policies, and supporting total maximum daily load program work. The 2021 Triennial Review formally began on March 24th of 2021, when a 45-day solicitation inviting comments was posted to our website and distributed to almost 1,200 stakeholders and tribes. The call was for those parties to provide written comments on basin plan elements that they felt needed amending. The solicitation for comments included an update on the projects from the 2018 Triennial Review that had been allocated resources. From the comment solicitation, staff received 13 total comment letters, including one comment letter forwarded by staff on CV salts, working on CV salts, and submitted during the state board adoption comment period for that basin plan amendment. In all, a total of 42 individual water quality comments were received. These comments were used to assess the rankings of the existing projects in the work plan and create new projects where applicable. The 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan includes the 27 projects that were developed and ranked as part of the 2018 Triennial Review. From the comments received during the solicitation period, staff developed an additional 5 new projects. Project 28, Evaluation of Selenium Criteria's Protectiveness of Beneficial Uses. Project 29, Addressing Water Quality Issues Associated with Trash and Pathogens in the City of Stockton, the San Joaquin River Basin, and the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta. Project 30, Addressing Harmful Algal Blooms in City of Stockton Waters. Project 31, Reviewing and Clarifying the Beneficial Uses and Monitoring Requirements in the California Aqueduct. And Project 32, Designate Rare Beneficial Uses for Water Bodies in the Sacramento River Basin and San Joaquin River Basin. In addition to the 5 new projects, the 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan recommends removing 4 projects that carried over from the 2018 Triennial Review project list. Those projects are Project 13, Ammonia Water Quality Objectives. This project was deemed to have been completed by staff as a result of implementation of site-specific ammonia criteria. Project 17, Fungicides and Herbicides. Staff had completed a review of a UC Davis study conducted for this project, and no additional work had been planned. Project 20, Sacramento and San Joaquin Rivers Organochlorine Pesticides Reevaluation. Staff determined that concentrations of organochlorine pesticides have been steadily decreasing, and other projects may benefit from reallocated resources. And Project 21, Statewide Mercury Control Program for Reservoirs. This is a statewide effort that is being led by the State Water Board. Removal of this project from the 2021 Triennial Review project list could enable staff to prioritize regional projects while also staying informed on the State Board's progress. No comments were received on these projects during the March to May 2021 comment solicitation period. After establishing the list of projects, staff began the process of prioritizing them. This process was developed by staff and approved by the board during the previous triennial review cycle. Staff applied the criteria established in the 2018 triennial review to all the projects in the project list, except for projects with existing enforceable regulatory commitments, projects deemed to be a high priority by this board, and projects that are being recommended for removal. The projects were then ranked based on the number of criteria met. The 7 prioritization criteria that were developed and approved by the board during the 2018 triennial review cycle are: addresses tribal interests or specifically addresses the human right to water, represents an efficient use of board or public resources, addresses impediments to water recycling, efficient use, or integrated water management, complements prior work, special stakeholder interest, addresses a 303D listed water quality impairment or threat to impairment, and supports the board's efforts on climate change. The criteria are discussed in greater detail in the work plan. Staff evaluated each project and applied the criteria where appropriate, and then grouped the projects into tiers or ranks. Rank 1 is for those projects that the board has already made a legally enforceable regulatory commitment to completing. Rank 2 is for special status projects that the board, with its discretion, has determined to be a high priority. Placement into ranks 3 through 5 was based solely on the number of criteria met. Projects with 1 criterion are in rank 5, projects with 2 criteria are in rank 4, and projects with 3 or more criteria are in rank 3. Only projects in ranks 1, 2, and 3 are eligible to be allocated resources. Using the criteria and ranking methodology, staff identified 5 rank 1 projects. Those projects are Project 12, Dissolved Oxygen Objectives, Project 16, Delta Nutrient Research Plan, Project 19, Pyrethroid Research Plan, Project 23, Delta Methyl Mercury Control Program, and Project 26, Implementation of the Clear Lake Nutrient Control Program. The Salt and Nutrient Control Program, CV Salts project, is the only rank 2 project listed as a high priority by this board. However, projects included in rank 2 are at the board's discretion. The next 2 slides list the 13 rank 3 projects that met 3 or more of the prioritization criteria. They are Project 2, Tribal Beneficial Uses, Project 4, Mune and AGR in oil production zones, Project 9, Appropriate Aquatic Life Beneficial Use Designation in agriculturally dominated and agricultural conveyance facilities, Project 11, Temperature Criteria and Objectives, Project 18, Comprehensive Pesticides Control Program, Project 22, Central Valley Rivers Mercury Control Program, and Project 24, Watershed-Based Plan Implementation and Update for Battle Creek. The remaining rank 3 projects are Project 25, Reassessment of Beneficial Uses and Water Quality Objectives in specific reaches of the Pitt River. Project 27, Development of Procedures to define and determine naturally occurring background conditions. Project 28, Evaluation of Selenium Criteria's Protectiveness of Beneficial Uses. Project 29, Addressing Water Quality Issues Associated with Trash and Pathogens in the City of Stockton, the San Joaquin River Basin, and the Sacramento San Joaquin River Delta. And Project 30, Addressing Harmful Algal Blooms in City of Stockton waters. The 3 rank 4 projects that met 2 of the prioritization criteria are Project 5, Grower Proposed Basin Plan Amendment Work Plans under Irrigated Lands General Waste Discharge Requirements. Project 10, Evaluation of Effluent Dominated and Individual Water Bodies Dominated by NPDES Discharges. And Project 15, Reevaluation of the Prospective Incorporation by Reference of the Maximum Contaminant Levels. Finally, the 7 rank 5 projects that meet 1 prioritization criterion are Project 3, Guidance for Seasonal Beneficial Uses and Diurnal Variations. Project 6, Individual Beneficial Use Evaluation for West Squaw Creek. Project 7, Individual Beneficial Use Evaluation for Grassland Water Supply Channels. Project 8, Individual Beneficial Use Evaluation for Groundwater beneath Sulphur Bank Mine in Lake County. Project 14, Review of Proposed US EPA Water Quality Criteria and 3 or 4A criteria. Project 31, Reviewing and Clarifying the Beneficial Uses and Monitoring Requirements in the California Aqueduct. And Project 32, Designate Rare Beneficial Uses for Water Bodies in the Sacramento River Basin and San Joaquin River Basin. All of the projects are included in the 2021 Trienal Review Work Plan with fact sheets explaining the purpose and details of the project and providing additional relevant information, such as what parties have commented on the project in the past 2 triennial review cycles, and what resources have been historically committed to this project, if any. With all of the new and existing projects ranked, staff released the 2021 Triennial Review Draft Work Plan with these projects and rankings for public comment on December 2nd, 2021, and accepted comments through 5 p.m. on January 6, 2022. Staff received 13 comment letters incorporating a total of 50 comments. A response to comments was issued on February 4th, 2022. Many of the comments were in support of the projects and rankings contained in the draft work plan. There were also many commenters that advocated for additional criteria and/or higher rankings for specific projects. Staff felt that some of the comments were sufficiently compelling as to warrant changes to the work plan. As such, staff developed an addendum to the work plan that was issued with the response to comments on February 4th, 2022. The following slides detail the noteworthy proposed changes to the work plan as recommended in the addendum. Other changes, such as typographical errors, were not incorporated as part of this presentation, but are addressed in the response to comments and addendum. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife, or CDFW, provided comments recommending changes in the applied criteria and ranking of the new proposed project, Project 32, designate rare beneficial uses for water bodies in the Sacramento River Basin and San Joaquin River Basin. The rare beneficial use is specific to uses of water that support aquatic habitats necessary, at least in part, for the survival and successful maintenance of plant or animal species established under state or federal law as rare, threatened, or endangered. It should be noted that there are existing beneficial uses in place to protect all fish species, including threatened and endangered species. The scope of this project includes evaluating the efficacy of existing beneficial uses in protecting threatened and endangered aquatic and aquatic dependent species. Staff agreed with CDFW's comment and recommend applying the additional criterion efficient use of board or public resources for this project. This project results in 32, moving from rank 5, 1 criterion, to rank 4, 2 criteria. Project 32 remains insufficiently ranked as to be potentially allocated resources in the 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan. The Planning and Conservation League, working with a number of other stakeholders and tribal representatives, provided comments recommending changes to the applied criteria and ranking for Project 31, reviewing and clarifying the beneficial uses and monitoring requirements in the California Aqueduct. Staff agreed and recommend adding the criterion complements prior work for this project based on the inclusion of the California Aqueduct in the basin plans, but with unclear designated beneficial uses. This change results in Project 31 moving from rank 5 to rank 4, but also remains insufficiently ranked as to be potentially allocated resources by the 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan. US EPA commented that Project 13, ammonia water quality objectives, should not be included among the list of projects that are recommended for removal. Based on the comments from US EPA, staff are recommending not removing Project 13 from the 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan. The addendum recommends applying the criteria that were previously applied for this project, specifically efficient use of board resources, complements prior work, and special stakeholder interest. The application of these 3 criteria result in Project 13 returning to its previous ranking of rank 3 and being eligible to be allocated resources. Finally, staff received comments from the Pitt River Tribe and the Mount Shasta Bioregional Ecology Center, among others, advocating that the 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan include a project to evaluate the Medicine Lake Volcanic Basin for outstanding national resource water, or ONRW status. There are only 2 waters in California, Lake Tahoe and Mono Lake, with ONRW status, which provides the highest degree of federal anti-degradation protection under the Clean Water Act. Because this project was added late and staff are not able to include it in the work plan or publicly notice the project until the response to comments and addendum were publicized on February 4th, 2022. The addendum recommends including Project 33, consideration of outstanding national resource water designation for Medicine Lake Volcanic Basin as a new but unranked project. If approved by this board, the project would be included in the work plan and staff would spend some resources defining what the scope of the project would be, what research and resources exist, and what other possible protections are available for the subject waters. With the addition of Project 33 and the changes in rankings to projects 13, 31, and 32, if approved, the 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan would include 5 rank 1 projects, 1 rank 2 project, 14 rank 3 projects, 5 rank 4 projects, 5 rank 5 projects, and 3 projects that are being recommended for removal. Next steps. Following board adoption of the 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan and Addendum, staff will incorporate the changes from the addendum into the work plan. Staff will then continue implementing the projects in ranks 1 and 2, and staff will prioritize basin planning resources as a part of the annual portfolio management work planning process to implement projects identified in rank 3. As projects are completed, staff will begin on other ranked projects as resources allow over the next 3 years. Under the portfolio management process, proposed program priorities are discussed with the board to craft the following year's basin planning program work plan, which includes resource allocations, a list of priority projects, and milestones and performance measures. Through this process, the board has input into which of the highest priority basin planning projects are implemented each year. There is also an annual update to the board, typically scheduled for the August board meeting. During the annual update, the board receives information on each program, including progress on work plan priority projects. Once this presentation is complete, I will welcome the board's comments and questions regarding the proposed Triennial Review Work Plan and Addendum. The public will also have an opportunity to provide comments. If necessary, additional changes will be made to the draft work plan based on board and public comments. Pending any additional changes, I recommend that the board adopt a resolution approving the 2021 Triennial Review Work Plan and Addendum. Thank you. This concludes my presentation. I am now happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Robert. We will, are there any questions from the board? And if not, what we will do is we'll now move on to hear from any persons interested who is not a party of the proceeding, but who wishes to comment. Janelle, do we have any interested persons wishing to comment on this item?
We do have quite a few. We can start with Michelle Berditchevsky.
Jean, will you unmute her so she can speak?
Yes, Michelle, you are unmuted.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me see. Hold on a sec, please. So I represent Mount Shasta Bioregional Ecology Center, and we work in close alliance with the Pitt River Tribe. I believe Greg Wolfen could not be here today because of COVID issues in his family. We also work closely with the Native Coalition for Medicine Lake Highlands Defense, Medicine Lake Citizens for Quality Environment, on protection of the Medicine Lake Highlands' outstanding cultural, hydrological, and scenic values. And we've been doing this for over 25 years. And I have taken the oath. So here in the North State, we're especially aware of the magnitude of the natural gifts of this immense water source and our human responsibility to recognize it and develop the means to protect it proactively before it's polluted, diverted, overdrafted, or some other horrible thing. We are aware that there are threats waiting in the wing that we've been holding off for these 25 years. And we believe that including outstanding national resource waters process and its application to Medicine Lake Volcanic Basin in this triennial review would meet several of the Water Board's prioritization criteria because it does address tribal interests. It would work very well together with tribal beneficial uses. It has resource commitments from other state agencies and is of special stakeholder interest, and hugely contributes to climate resilience, and of course would contribute enormously to the 30 by 30 strategy, which is maybe a new criterion. It's not one of your listed criterion, but we've been giving input into that strategy. And outstanding national resource waters is part of that strategy. So we appreciate the board's including this project as a new but unranked project. And we realize we've come on the scene late. We weren't aware of this process. And we're very grateful that you've identified initial steps. I want to point out that this is a highly significant unprotected Native American cultural area, part of which lies within the Medicine Lake Highlands Traditional Cultural District, recognized by the National Register of Historic Places, as well as the springs emerging at Adjumawi Lava Springs State Park. And because of the aquifer's high storage capacity, 20 to 40 million acre feet, storing more than the state's 200 surface reservoirs combined. This is a climate resilient natural system that provides as much as 1.4 million acre feet per year of very high quality water to California's water supply, even in times of drought. And it emerges as the state's largest spring system at the Fall River Springs, contributing to Shasta Lake Reservoir and the Upper Sacramento River, and downstream communities, fisheries, agriculture, and the Central Valley Project. So as we pointed out in our comments, we see a great need for the state to develop higher water quality standards before this is affected by any development, which, as I said, is in the wings. This would be a proactive nature and cultural based measure in keeping with the 30 by 30 strategy.
Michelle, are you wrapping up? Where our 3 minutes are up for comment?
This is my last sentence. Yes,
Thank you.
I just want to point out this is very proactive. And the North State, way up here in the northeast corner, we don't get a lot of attention, but we're asking for your attention. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your public comments. All right, Janelle, our next public commenter.
The next public commenter will be Marcus Griswold.
Sorry, I don't see anyone by that name.
Okay, the next one will be Eric Nelson.
I noticed that Michelle has her hand up again.
Yes, Michelle.
I think that may be a remnant of her taking the oath.
Okay.
No, I wanted to say that Marcus Griswold had to go to another meeting because we thought this would be on earlier, and Eric Nelson is taking his place. And I hope we can reach Eric. He's got his hand up.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna, my name is Eric Nelson, and I'm the president of the board of the Medicine Lake Citizens for a Quality Environment, and represent multiple private landowners in the Medicine Lake Highlands. And I'd just like to strongly reiterate the comments that Michelle made, and then I'll make a few comments that Marcus was going to make.
Mr. Nelson, you're fading out.
Oh, sorry about that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, let me up my volume here. Okay. And specifically, I would ask that the board use their discretion and make every conceivable effort to pursue the outstanding natural resource waters designation process as a triennial review project. Because we're in a period of historic
Sorry, sir, but you're breaking up. We're having trouble hearing you.
well, I've got my mic maxed out, so.
That works better.
Okay. Well, let me just get to the Marcus's comments then. And we would like to ask the Water Board to include the outstanding natural resource waters designation process for the Medicine Lake Highlands. This designation would align with a number of state priorities, including the ongoing Tribal Beneficial Uses Project, 30 by 30, the Water Resilience Portfolio, and Climate Adaptation Planning. Further, the state's budget for nature-based solutions in the 30 by 30 initiative exceeds $2 billion. A small portion of these funds could be dedicated to creating a strategy for ONRW designation. Even though DWR's removal of this area and other non-basin areas from Bulletin 118 left many waters located in state designated disadvantaged communities and tribal lands without protections, the Water Board has an opportunity to protect these source waters. The state can pilot this process now with the Medicine Lake Highlands. Given a large portion of the Medicine Lake Highlands includes public lands managed by the Forest Service, BLM, state parks, and the 100-mile square designated for the Pitt River Tribe, this presents an opportunity for interagency and tribal collaboration. The state has initiated efforts to address data gaps in water information in the state. The Medicine Lake Highlands is a major gap in water data in the state. We have a list of those data gaps and would be interested in a collaboration with the Water Board, Pitt River Tribe, and community partners, and other research agencies such as USGS and universities to fill these gaps. The Pitt River Tribe and community partners were recently awarded a Cal EPA Environmental Justice Grant to aggregate the water data in the region, align to tribal and community priorities, and develop a set of potential watershed restoration priorities for tribally important waters. This would align with any work by the Water Board to support TBU and ONRW designations. And regardless of the board's decision, by end of the fiscal year, we are asking the Water Board to develop a framework and process for ONRW designation in the Medicine Lake Highlands in collaboration with the tribe and community partners. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Janelle, our next presenter, our commenter.
Yes, David Corey's up next.
You can unmute, David. He may have stepped away.
Okay, we can come back to him. Let's try Gary Bobker.
You may unmute. Mr. Bobker?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We see and hear you.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Gary Bobker. I'm the program director at the Bay Institute. We submitted written comments on the trying to review work plan. And basically, I've got three brief things to comment. The first is just to express appreciation to the staff for their recommendation to add Project 28 on evaluating the selenium criteria. We support that recommendation and hope you will too. There's just a lot of evidence that the current criteria are not sufficiently protective of beneficial uses. So we think it clearly meets your criteria for priority. The second point I wanted to make was that the description in the trying to review work plan, while very solid, we thought maybe wasn't broad enough to cover some of the broader fish and wildlife impacts, potential impacts, gaps in our knowledge, et cetera, to indicate that the selenium criteria, are a systemic problem potentially rather than just one concentrated in the grassland area and mud slough. And we understand the response to comments that there'll be an opportunity to work on the work plan, and Robert referred to the portfolio management work plan development process. So I just want to confirm that we'll have an opportunity to discuss what the proper scope of the board's activity should be, and that we're not precluded from some broader activities simply by the initial description. And then the third point I wanted to make was simply that work on Project 28 and on some other priority projects, for instance, Project 11, the temperature criteria, which we think is also an extreme, it's an existing project and one we think is of extreme importance, that there is just a vast amount of existing knowledge about how to set these criteria. US EPA guidance on selenium, on temperature, many contemporary studies in both areas really mean that the staff and the board does not have to start from scratch and reinvent the wheel. There's just a lot to work with, and so the effort to develop both selenium criteria, temperature criteria, and some other actions for some other projects should neither be burdensome nor take an excess amount of time. So we hope that the board can move ahead expeditiously on those projects and update the water quality control, the basin plans as a result. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Patrick, Gary had asked a question there. Did you want to respond to that, or do we just move forward?
I think we can do either. It's certainly at your pleasure, Denise. The answer is yes. As we work on these projects, as we kind of get them out there for public notice, there certainly is anytime we revise the basin plan, anytime we kind of even make steps towards revising the basin plan, we would have to do a scoping under CEQA, scoping under applicable regulations, at which point we can have a broad discussion about where we would be looking at selenium numbers. And I certainly think that would be part of the project. There's not really something that we would want to do to limit that. So certainly as we embark on those projects, that's what we would be doing. We would absolutely have the opportunity to solicit additional comments on the scope of what we were working on. I will say, we will try our very, very best to get to these projects. The priority 3 certainly does not suggest that we will actually get to the project within the next 3 years. It's I know discouraging for many. I want to kind of indicate for those of you, we kind of debated on whether we would include this or not in the Trienal review work plan itself. But I'll share really quickly kind of some of the things that we look at with respect to the Trienal review work plan. So if you can see my screen right there, we've got this. If you go to the board's website under this programs button, go to overview of board programs, you see all of our water quality programs right up there. This has actually the most recent numbers that we have for the resources that we have available for these programs. Click on the basin planning program, and right under resources, we've got, if you look at this, we've got a total of 9 PYs, 5 of which are allocated to the CV salts program. So it is unfortunately an extraordinarily limited program in the type of resources that we have available to do a lot of these interesting things, a lot of these badly needed things. And one of the reasons why when we have that comment about the outstanding natural resource waters, why we would be very deliberative about putting it onto the agenda, how we would kind of structure it to possibly include it in the next Trienal review after we understand what the resource commitment would be for that particular item. Not saying that we won't. I've made that commitment to the folks working on Medicine Lake and Medicine Lake water quality issues to explore that during the time of this Trienal review. but kind of move forward and try and understand the scope. So it will absolutely be something that we could rank and understand a little better by the next Trienal review. Gary, I see you've got a follow-up hand raised. I think it'd be at Acting Chair Kadara's pleasure whether you want to entertain that one. But
okay, well, I think was Michelle there first. If she has a comment.
You may unmute.
Michelle? Okay, then let's go to Gary. You're muted, Gary.
Yeah. Very briefly, thank you, Patrick, and I appreciate that. Including those rank 3 projects in the work plan doesn't automatically mean that they're going to happen, which is why I want to reemphasize my third comment, which is that the existing vast amount of knowledge about selenium and temperature in particular lend themselves to moving forward without the board staff having to do a lot of new work, reinventing the wheel, et cetera. So I hope that in a sense, there's an efficiency there that the board can appreciate in terms of allowing those to move forward.
No, absolutely. I understand that. I've been reviewing that material. I think just to be frank, just walking that type of scientific information through the board planning process, doing the SQL work that would be necessary, even if there are existing kind of scientific data on point, and then receiving comments from everybody who's interested, that usually can take a few years and a couple PYs just to march through that process. It's it's frustrating to me as an attorney. I kind of want to look for every which way we can to do things more efficiently, but owing to the fact that basin planning is such a long-standing program. You make a change to the basin plan, it has ramifications for decades to come. That's kind of how the process is built. But certainly, that's one of the reasons that it helped qualify for that priority 3 is that there are existing information available on both of those projects. But thank you so much. And I know you've been very helpful in kind of pointing the board to resources to help make those decisions.
To be continued.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick and Gary. Janelle, do we have any other commenters? I'm sorry.
Yes, we have Brandy McDaniels.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Chumisanui. My name is Brandy McDaniels. I'm the Medici Band cultural representative for the Pitt River Nation. The picture I use here for my Zoom is my daughter at Sattitla, also known as Medicine Lake, which is within the Medicine Lake Highlands in which my tribal nation holds sacred. Our homelands lie within the 4 northeastern counties of California, in which the Medicine Lake volcano lays within 3 of those counties of Shasta, Modoc, and Siskiyou counties. This volcano is the largest shield volcano on the continent. We have conducted our ceremonies and traditional ways in the Medicine Lake Highlands since time immemorial and have consistently fought for the protection of this area for the numerous benefits it holds for the Pitt River Nation, as well as a significant portion of California as well. Often our traditional ways, when researched, are backed up by science, proving again, like in this case, that the Medicine Lake Highlands are an important, fundamental, and essential part of the water quality in a large portion of California, in our Pitt River Nation's 4 counties into the water systems throughout California. With the DWR removing this area from Bulletin 118, it has left state designated disadvantaged communities and our tribal ancestral lands without protections. The Water Board can protect these communities and source waters that impact so many. This is why we request the Water Board to include the outstanding National Water Resource Waters designation process for the Medicine Lake Highlands as a project in this triennial review. Sula Aya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McDaniel. And I've neglected to ask board members if you've have any comments for any of the commenters or questions for them. Feel free to say something. Okay, if we don't have any other comments, questions, Janelle, our next commenter, please.
Hi, Denise. The only last request would be to call on David Corey again to see if he's on, and then that would be it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is David. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I checked the box of if necessary. I really don't have any comments to make today, but I appreciate the board staff's presentation, and I look forward to seeing you all in Fresno at your next board meeting.
Thank you, David. And I would just like to thank all the that spoke, Michelle, Eric, Gary, and Ms. McDaniels. We certainly appreciate you being involved and providing your public comments.
Denise,
yes.
This is Carmen. I was going to say that there was a couple of speakers that said, you know, we might not have been timely, but the point is that they're getting involved. And this stuff can be really dense. There's a lot of people who care about these issues, but it's just so hard to get through. So I commend people that, especially the people that participated today, to just, you know, just show up and let us know, because we do take that into consideration, and it doesn't always move fast and you might not always see results, but we definitely hear you and we appreciate that you make the effort to come.
Thank you very much. Very well said, Carmen. We would now like to hear any closing remarks from staff. Jean?
Anyone may raise their hand if they'd like to talk.
Ms. Kadara, Adam Lapis, Assistant Executive Officer. I don't have any staff closing comments or remarks to make. I don't know if Meredith Howard might have some, or Dr. Howard, or Rob LaRue.
Okay.
No, I don't have any.
Okay. All right, thank you, staff. Executive Officer recommendations.
So my recommendation is to adopt the triennial review as proposed. Certainly, it's one of those areas that is has huge ramifications on the future of California's regulation of surface water and groundwater. So there's huge ramifications for what we do in this program area. And I know Meredith, myself, Adam, Rob, and the whole team. It's tough. It's tough sorting out these projects. There's a lot of them that have merit, and figuring out how we can spend our limited resources in a way that is most impactful and most responsive to the community's needs throughout the valley is always a tough decision to sort it out for the board's consideration. I commend Meredith and Rob for their efforts to kind of sort through all the projects out there. We really try and make the best use of the resources that we have. And we'll certainly continue the conversations on the Medicine Lake area. And that includes, just continuing the dialogue about what the board's actions are. To be honest, the removal of Bulletin 118 designation does not affect our basin plans. So we still have the water quality protections in place under our basin plans. It goes to exactly what you were saying, Ms. Kadara. It is very difficult to sort through all of the intricate water quality programs that many different agencies have out there. So we will do our best to continue to explain our role and where we can work with all types of communities, tribal communities, environmental folks, to ensure that our waters are protected, regardless of what happens with other agencies too. So we'll continue to do all of those efforts over the next 3 years. And with that, again, I'll repeat my recommendation to adopt the triennial review as proposed.
Thank you very much. And I think that was Carmen that made those comments. So thank you very much.
I just realized it when I said it, so apologies.
Okay. All
Denise,
right.
can I add one thing? I
Sure.
just wanted to say I really appreciate how systematic and thoughtful that whole process is to prioritize the projects that are going to be worked on over the next 3 years. And I really wanted to thank the Medicine Lake collaborative commenters. I think it really adds a lot of weight to what they're saying when there's more than one person getting up in front of the board and making the point. So I appreciate that a great deal.
All right, thank you very much. And I totally agree with both board members and their comments that they made today. If nothing else, then we will close the public hearing and we will have board deliberate. And we have any comments, questions, discussion amongst the board? If not, go ahead.
This is Carmen. And this question is more for Patrick, and I don't know if it makes sense to have this discussion here, but in a couple of other boards that I participate in, there's been discussion about the budget for the state coming in higher than it had expected. And that, you know, I know that for a lot of agencies or colleges, they're expecting maybe not a generous budget, but certainly not a scaled back skeleton budget the way it's been in past years. So is there anything that we can do to make anything that we as board members can do to help make a case with important projects like this that compete for limited funds?
That's a complicated question. You know, I think we have an internal process, you know, in terms of how we make comments to the legislature. As board members here, the role has to go through our Office of Legislative Affairs to make comments on the budget. We have, I have kind of worked through that confidential process to request resources without revealing kind of any confidential discussions. The way the resources are being proposed to be allocated to the boards are largely funds that will come as a flow through to disadvantaged communities, to drinking water systems, say like the arrearages program and others. There's a very little augmentation for regional board staff despite additional requests. And I think the priority has been from this administration to get money out directly to the to affected communities. Again, the arrearages program is something coming up. Infrastructure is something that's coming up. State revolving fund dollars are something that's coming up. But requests to augment state and regional board staff, I'll say those efforts have been fairly limited without getting too much into the discussion. But we can certainly have a conversation offline about how those processes work. But you know, resource requests, again, work with me and I can talk about the gory details of the state budget process. I think they're doing enormous things with the budget surplus that they have, but I think that the chosen route to spend some of the resources is in kind of payments that will go towards infrastructure, billing, arrearages, and less to additional staff at the regional board. And that's, I say that because that's the public facing budget that the governor put out and that the legislature is kind of debating right now. So nothing confidential about that.
Yeah, and you know, and I don't want to open up things that we can't handle in what we're talking about. But you know, when you listen to this, there's so many things that have merit that you know, compete for limited funds. And you know, at least we're paying attention and we're you know, being heard. So I understand the limits that exist, but thanks for the answer.
I worked with you know, Department of Finance that makes a lot of these calls, and I will say they're while it's a little easier for them to have a year where the money's come in greater than expected, they still are faced with just enormously difficult decisions because the needs throughout the state are so great. So you know, certainly we can kind of chat about that a little bit more, but that's kind of my answer there. I plug for this team quite a bit, and sometimes successful, sometimes not so much.
All right, thank you, Carmen, and thank you, Patrick. Do we have any more comments from the board? If not, Go ahead.
Staff recommendation.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved. I need a second to.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and second to adopt the triennial review of the water quality control plans for the Sacramento River and San Joaquin River basins and the Tulare Lake Basin. Janelle, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Board Member Brar,
Yes.
Board Member Abdis,
Yes.
Board Member Yang,
Aye.
Board Member Bradford,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ramirez,
Yes.
Acting Chair Kadara.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And we will now like to move on to our next item. And that will be agenda item number 9, GNCA Classer Ranch LLC, Classer Ranch Project, Classer County. At this time, the board will consider waste discharge requirements for Placer Ranch LLC, Placer Ranch Project, and Placer County. This hearing will be conducted in accordance with the notice of public hearing and the meeting procedures published at the meeting agenda. At this time, evidence should be introduced on whether the proposed action should be taken. The designated party is Placer Ranch LLC. All other persons are interested persons. Presentation times are as follows. Placer Ranch LLC will have 15 minutes for presentation and a closing argument. Mr. Garabidian, on behalf of the Placer County tomorrow, will have 10 minutes for presentation and no closing statement. Other interested persons will have 3 minutes for presentation and no closing statement. A timer will be used. All persons expected to testify, raise your hand or raise the hand signal there, your right hand, and take the following oath. Do you swear the following testimony you're about to give is the truth? If so, raise your hand with the thing on your computer there and say, I do. Okay, then also, please state your name, address, and affiliation, and whether you've taken the oath before testifying. If any designated party is having technical difficulty, please notify us immediately by raising your hand virtually. And that's what I meant to say a while ago, virtually on Zoom under the participant tab, or if you are using a phone by pressing *9. You may also send an email to agenda5@waterboards.ca.gov. If there are technical difficulties, we will stop the hearing to address those issues and will not resume until all designated parties can participate. Does council have any legal issues to discuss at this time?
Yes. I think. Oh,
Go ahead, Jessica. Bailey.
I was just gonna, well, Jessica, you can announce the first one. I'm assuming you'll announce.
Yeah, I was just going to say that this is another item where Board Member Advis will be recused and not participating due to a potential conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you very much. Bailey?
Yes, and thanks for that, Jessica. 2 additional items to raise to the full board. The first one is that we did receive a designated party request on behalf of Placer County tomorrow. That request did not include information to support party status, so it was denied ahead of the hearing by Acting Chair Kadara. However, as was previously indicated, Placer County tomorrow was afforded 10 minutes, which is more time than typically afforded to interested persons. And as with other interested persons or parties, they can always request additional time. The second issue to raise is that this week on February 15th, we did receive 2 emails, one from Placer County tomorrow and the other from Larissa Berry. And to the extent that these commenters were intending to submit late comments, staff is recommending that the board exclude these comments for these reasons. The board did provide 2 written comment periods for this item. First on the application itself, and then second when the draft permit was circulated, and that comment period ended on October 25th. Both commenters previously did submit comments during this time, And the late comments do not raise anything that wasn't previously considered by staff. So while staff isn't recommending inclusion of these comments, it's of course the board's discretion to include. However, if they are excluded, the commenters still have the opportunity to read these comments into the record during their oral presentations.
Thank you very much, Council. We will now begin with the staff presentation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kadara, Acting Chair Kadara. I will say one thing I forgot to mention, and it's not exactly pertinent to this item number 9, but item number 10, when we approved it, some of the folks that also work in this area really bent over backwards to make sure that item 10 was approved at this board meeting, including Pete Minkle and Stephanie Tadlock, who worked late hours at the last minute to make sure that on New Year's Eve, I believe, to make sure that that item got across the line, because they were responding to developer need for that project to get approved at this board meeting. This is a continued item. We also put in a lot of effort to make sure that this would be heard by the board today. And I just wanted to say that before we proceeded with this item. Yeah, we'll turn it over to
Thank you
staff.
very much, Patrick. And now we'll proceed with staff presentations at this time.
I have the presentation loaded. I can run it, or you can.
I'm happy to do it. Can you guys hear me all right?
Sounds
perfect.
Good. Okay.
Greg, hold on one second. Just a quick question for council. Did we need a ruling on those 2 letters, or is it something we don't need to ruling on?
I think I would just say that if the board chose to include, they would have to rule on that. But otherwise, if they agree with staff's recommendation on the late comments and on the pre-hearing ruling on party status, then I don't think we need any additional formal on that process.
Thank you.
And I'll just raise the question before staff. Is there the board, did you have any comments or anything on that? I certainly agree with the council's position. Okay, then let's proceed. Mr. Hendricks.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Can you guys see that all right?
We do, yes.
Okay, let me just move you guys a little bit. Okay. Good afternoon, Acting Chair Kadara and members of the board. My name is Greg Hendricks. I'm an environmental scientist working in the 401 Water Quality Certification and Dredging Unit here in the Sacramento office, and I have taken the oath. The next item for your consideration are the proposed waste discharge requirements for the Placer Ranch project. During this presentation, I will provide an overview of the project, including impacts, a description of the aquatic features avoided and preserved, as well as mitigation requirements. Additionally, I will discuss communications for the proposed waste discharge requirements that have taken place between local citizens, concerned groups, and staff. Finally, I will conclude with the regional board staff recommendation for the proposed waste discharge requirements. The Water Quality Certification Program is responsible for regulating discharges of dredged or fill material to waters of the state. It ensures no net loss of wetlands and other aquatic features through permitting requirements, as well as avoidance, minimization, and mitigation measures. Typically, these 401 water quality certifications are reviewed and signed by the executive officer. But in this case, the ability to permit the project through the 401 process changed due to the fact that there was a significant amount of impacts to waters of the state, and that we received multiple public comments. Due to this, the project is additionally proposed to be permitted under the board's authority under the Porter Cologne Water Quality Control Act and the 401 Certification Authority as a combo document. So this 1,760 acre project is it's located in Placer County along the northwestern edge of the city of Roseville. The purpose of the project is to construct a large, mixed-use, mixed-density master plan development, including commercial, office, residential, and public uses in Placer County. The project lies within the potential future growth area for the Placer County Habitat Conservation Plan. The project impacts consist of mass grading for future development, including 707 acres of commercial and office facilities, 406 acres of residential housing, 113 acres of public uses, including a new school, parks, and an approximately 265 acre open space preserve. The total impacts to aquatic features are 38.34 acres, consisting of predominantly wetland and vernal pool habitat. So this picture shows the impacts for the Placer Ranch project. The features outlined in green will be preserved and avoided. The Placer Ranch site is primarily undeveloped, and it's characterized by areas of flat and gently rolling terrain with non-native grasslands. Portions of the site have been previously used for agricultural purposes, including cattle grazing and the production of wheat, hay, and rice. So several drainage ways are located in the site. The most pronounced is a riparian corridor located in the southeast corner of the site, which flows southwards to Pleasant Grove Creek and will be primarily avoided. In addition, several smaller drainages are located throughout the site and converge to form a drainage way named University Creek. Additionally, north of the project is a landfill, a composting facility, as well as the Placer Parkway project. And the Placer Parkway project is a separate project that will require a permit approval on a future date. So the proposed waste discharge requirements require that within the approximately 265 acres of open space, a preserve be established, and the permittee will place the avoided and preserved aquatic resources and vegetative buffers into a preserve parcel. Placer County, as California Environmental Quality Act lead agency, certified an environmental impact report for this project on December 10th, 2019. This environmental impact report includes mitigation measures to protect environmental resources and best management practices that are required through multiple permits issued by multiple agencies. A few examples include applying silt fencing, fiber rolls, storm drain inlet protection, and prohibiting grading within the 100-year floodplain. The lighter green areas, which lie within the project, are part of the proposed open space preserve, made up of aquatic features being avoided. These waste discharge requirements ensure a no net loss of aquatic features with mitigation through the Placer County Habitat Conservation Plan. They require that the project mitigate for the 38.34 acres of impacts at a minimum of a 1.5 to 1 ratio, which is consistent with the state's no net loss policy. The project will be an enrollee in the Western Placer and Lafitte program, which is the component of the Placer County Habitat Conservation Plan that creates a large contiguous preserve system in Placer County. So we received written comments during the public noticing period from several interested commenters. And on the next handful of slides, I'll go through a few of those concerns. So the concerns that were brought up include a lack of notice for public involvement, concerns with the California Environmental Quality Act document, the wetland delineation, compensatory mitigation, and stormwater concerns. Adequate public notice of the pending application for the 401 water quality cert was provided for public comment on our website from November 6th, 2020 to November 27th, 2020. And the proposed waste discharge requirements were then posted for public comment, or were also posted September 25th, 2021 to October 25th, 2021. Then with the public notice posted on the Central Valley Water Board website. We sent via email to known interested persons those links. Additionally, the 401 program has implemented additional outreach, which includes the development of a LIRIS list for interested persons to receive information regarding incoming 401 applications and issued certs. In the next few slides, I'll go through the comments in a sort of question and answer format, starting with the comment. So the major comments we received for the California Environmental Quality Act were that the final environmental impact report did not address cumulative effects, including the impacts of multiple planned development projects. In response to this comment regarding cumulative impacts, on December 10th, 2019, Placer County, as lead agency, certified the final environmental impact report for the project. And this final environmental impact report did evaluate cumulative impacts, including potential impacts from the proposed future development projects. And there's no indication that there would be any changed circumstances or new information that would trigger further California Environmental Quality Act review under the lead agency's certification of its final environmental impact report. Additionally, the mitigation through the Western Placer in lieu fee program, or with mitigation through the fee program, the dischargers will mitigate species and habitat impacts by funding either acquisition of dedicated land to a newly established preserve system. It's shown as a reserve acquisition area in dark green, or preserve or enhance existing habitat shown in light green as the existing protected areas. The Placer County Habitat Conservation Plan includes 50 to 60,000 acres within an available acquisition area that would become part of a contiguous reserve system. The approximate location of the project is shown outlined in red and lies within the potential future growth area, which is shown in beige. So the major comments we received for the wetland delineation were that the delineation was inaccurate and inconsistent. So the project consultant conducted wetland delineations for the Placer property as per the Army Corps of Engineers guidance manuals. So these manuals guide the standards for identifying and mapping wetlands and waters that may be regulated by the Central Valley Water Board and Army Corps of Engineers. All wetlands and waters within the project area were mapped, verified, and determined to be either waters of the state or waters of the US. So this is an industry standard process for mapping wetlands and waters and is in compliance with the new state dredge and fill procedures for delineation of waters. The major comments we received for the compensatory mitigation section focused on concerns about mitigation through the Western Placer in lieu fee program, and stated that the mitigation was impermissible because the Western Placer in lieu fee program does not provide ecosystem level protections as required by the California Natural Community Conservation Plans. So the Placer County Habitat Conservation Plan has been developed through interagency collaboration under guidance through the California Natural Community Conservation Planning Act, and serves as a natural community conservation plan. The purchase of mitigation credits through the Western Placer County in lieu fee program allows the county to accumulate funds to be used for future preservation, conservation, and restoration projects within the Placer County Habitat Conservation Plan preserve area. So additionally, this mitigation complies with no net loss policy and the dredge and fill procedures. The major comments we received for stormwater concerns were that the drainage facilities to handle the runoff were not yet constructed and are not part of the project before you, and that the runoff from the site will negatively impact endangered salmonids. So separate from the proposed waste discharge requirements before you, the project will also be enrolled in a number of different water board permits that protect water quality from stormwater impacts. The first of which is the construction general stormwater permit, which addresses stormwater impacts during construction activities. Placer County is also an enrollee under the small municipal stormwater permit that requires implementation of a post-construction stormwater management program. And under the small municipal stormwater permit, the county is required to implement measures for site design, source control, runoff reduction, stormwater retention, and hydro modification management. These protections are implemented through low impact development standards. Additionally, a site-specific stormwater pollution prevention plan will be submitted concurrently with the improvement and grading plans. So the requirement of which includes ensuring that all pollutants and source materials associated with construction are controlled. So staff recommends adopting the proposed waste discharge requirements before you today for the Placer Ranch project. I would like to enter the staff presentation, the agenda package, and the case files for this facility into the record. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for allowing me to provide you with the details and recommendations for these waste discharge requirements.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We would like to now proceed, unless we have questions from our board, we'd like to now proceed with the testimony by Placer Ranch LLC. Jean, will you unmute the representatives to speak?
Sure. I believe that is Kate. You are able to unmute if you like.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
We do, yes.
Great. Good afternoon, Acting Chair Kadara and members of the board. My name is Kate Hart and I am counsel for Jen California Placer Ranch, and I have taken the oath. As a past member of the Central Valley Regional Board, I know how much time and energy goes into these board meetings, and I would like to sincerely thank Greg and all of the staff and you for your tireless work permitting important projects throughout what is the largest regional board in the entire state. It's always a pleasure to work with each and every one of you, and we greatly appreciate it. On to the topic today. Greg has done an excellent job presenting the Placer Ranch project and outlining the proposed WDRs. Given he's detailed most of the information, I will make my comments brief and overarching just regarding the significance of this project. The Sunset Area Plan, of which the Placer Ranch project is a significant portion, dates back over 55 years. The purpose of the Sunset Area Plan and, of course, the Placer Ranch project are to create large economic and employment hubs in South Placer. The area, of course, capitalizes on the proximity to Highway 65, various rail lines, and adjacent growing communities of Roseville, Rockland, and Lincoln. One of the key highlights and driving factors of the Placer Ranch project is the new 301-acre set-aside area for the Cal State Sacramento University campus. The university is an integral part of the shared innovation that will occur throughout the Sunset Area Plan in the region. The university will serve as a foundational economic driver in the region and help to provide an educated workforce, thousands of jobs, and reducing traffic trips to downtown Sacramento. This, of course, is separate and apart from the Placer Ranch project. However, it is included within the boundaries of the Placer Ranch specific plan and goes to the overall innovation that will occur in the entire area. The WDRs today before you ensure no net loss of wetlands. They strictly protect water quality of the local waters, including the Pleasant Grove Creek and Orchard Creek. They require extensive monitoring, sampling, reporting, and employing of extensive BMPs. We do happen to be participating in the PCCP, which will include not only paying in lieu fees, but will include us dedicating over 300 acres of offsite preserve. In other words, land in lieu. Placer Ranch is an essential part of the southwestern Placer County's economic success. It will bring millions of dollars in economic benefits and jobs, new homes, preserve the University Creek corridor with amazing trail and open space amenities. We greatly appreciate you hearing this item today and respectfully request that you approve the 401 certification and WDRs. With that, I will end my comments and reserve any remaining time for rebuttal if necessary. I also would note that we have our biologist, Sarah Vanderoe from Madrone Ecological Consulting, available today, as well as Michelle Kingsbury and Greg McKenzie from Placer County if you have any PCCP questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kate, for your presentation. We will now proceed with a presentation, or if there are no questions from our board. Any questions? Okay, thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you.
We would now like to proceed with a presentation from Mr. Michael Garabendian of Placer County tomorrow. Jean, will you unmute him, please?
Yes, sir. You can unmute.
Good afternoon, board members. Mike Garabedian for Placer County tomorrow and Friends of the North Fork, American River, 1725 Shellbach in Lincoln. I took the oath. It's impossible to go into the major issues about this. Basically, we are very concerned that the 401 regulations are not being implemented in the proper manner by the staff that they're recommending to you. This is the third project you've dealt with for this area besides the PCCP in Carvana, and now you have the Sunset Area Plan, Placer Ranch Specific Plan, but not including what's in the middle of it, the 300-acre proposed Sac State and Sierra College project. That's a bifurcation. That is, it totally doesn't make any sense. It's all in the same watershed that we mentioned the creek a few minutes ago, and it should not be separate. It can't possibly be done separately, much less with the proposed parkway, which is a project under the PCCP and so forth. The crux of our concern is that the state NCCP is much stronger than the federal, as was mentioned. It is really it's being used by the staff to wag the tail. These agencies meet in secret from the public, though Ms. Tabak, I believe, goes to those meetings, and the public is not welcome to those. They go to the Joint Powers Authority, which then approves them. None of their items are on any agenda where the public can comment. It's important to mention this was originally an Eli Broad project. He did not develop it. It was sold to another outfit. They studied it and found out it did not pencil out. So what did the county do? They entitled the new plan proposal, and they proposed it and approved it themselves. It has not had anything resembling the needed public comment. Let's turn to CEQA. And CEQA, all of the mitigations, all of the proposals, the in lieu fields, in lieu projects, are covered in Schedule C of the, and without going to each one individually, what they conclude is this impact would remain potentially significant and unavoidable. That's the message to you. These massive destructions of wetlands are significant and unavoidable, and the staff is allowing that to happen. It should not be happening. The lack of overriding considerations and so forth. The failure to develop and do an alternatives aspect analysis is just shocking failure to not do. Really should not be piecemealing these projects. The ecological relationships between the very narrowly protected areas, basically looking at the federal protection, but not the ecological relationship between the ephemeral streams that would be wiped out, the both the protected areas, the green areas, and the year-round waterways are being dealt with as if there's no relationship outside, ignoring the California requirement of that you be get careful look at the ecological and landscape level relationships. Let's see. I'm afraid I'm off of an interstate freeway, so 2/3 of the way across the country, where I've been gathering records from my work back east, and I'm not in the greatest situation to be presenting, but I'm delighted to be able to do so, even under the circumstance where there was a warning in mid-Tennessee for a tornado scale winds. So the Fish and Game Commission doesn't hear these items. We have state policies. The state policies now about greenhouse gas emissions, about climate change, 30 by 30, vehicle miles traveled, the destruction of the planet. These are the issues here where you are being recommended to not do your job, just like you did not do your job on Carvana, that massive wipeout, or on the PCCP itself, deferring to these discussions that apparently happen in secret. Executive Order 8220, as if it doesn't exist, as if you don't have any responsibility to do anything, or to take extra careful look at the years that went into making the regulations that apply to these 401 water quality certifications. It's as if all of that work was just for naught. It's just totally for naught. So the huge wetland destroying nature of what you're approving is something you should not approve. You should not allow the staff to get away with this kind of deferring to these projects for a project that is being spent, counsel for the new counsel for this outfit that came in and bought earlier this year, I believe it was, and finally got involved in this, is arguing all kinds of valuable things and contributing to the economy and so forth. That is not your job. It is not your job to conclude, and the other two issues, that local government makes decisions on land use. You have the responsibility. It will be shocking if you do not pay more attention to the wetlands lost here, the loss of the vernal pool prairie, massive loss of vernal pool prairie, the wetlands, all that sequester, the grasslands that sequester more carbon and can sequester more carbon than forest, especially with fire regimes. This area has been affected by fire, a lot of fires. And then you have these more future projects coming, like Placer Parkway, the Placer County Water Authority pipeline. These are two permittees of the Placer County, the PCCP. Here you are piecemealing one by one by one without looking at the overall project and how this is ripping apart that area and destroying the ecological relationships. The most critical failure is to do the alternatives analysis. The comment, we certainly object to the comment that was submitted recently not being allowed into the record, and believe you should consider that, and that the board should overrule its staff on that matter. And it's something you should at least look at it and consider whether it should be taken up. There have not been workshops. Almost no one in the community knows what the Placer County Conservation Plan is or what's going on with these projects. That's because Gold Country media considers it too political to write about land use issues there. So there haven't been workshops. You haven't done workshops. You haven't done the necessary outreach to the public to the extent we've tried to do that. If there's any remaining time, I would want to reserve that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garabedian. I appreciate your comments. Are there any comments from staff? I'm not staff, but our board members. Are there any comments? And we had questions, and I think the questions were addressed in regards to by council regarding the comment letters that came in late. So if nothing else, we will move on to hear from any other persons interested who are not a party to this proceeding but wish to comment. Janelle, do we have any other interested persons who would like to comment on this item?
Yes, we have 3 more, and we can start with Larissa Berry.
Okay. Jean, will you unmute Melissa Berry?
Looking for her.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't see anyone by that name.
Okay, we can come back to her. Let's try Leslie Warren.
Also, I don't see. Doesn't appear to be here.
Okay, let's call on Isabella Langan.
Also not present. If any of these people are here, feel free to raise your hand in case I'm missing you, but I don't see any of those names.
Okay, no worries.
Okay.
Member Cadera?
Yes.
This is Carmen Ramirez, and I just for the record, I'd like to say that I support the decision to exclude the late comments. I understand that there are things that come up, but Mr. Garabedian being an attorney, and certainly Ms. Hart's an attorney. And, in civil law, there's very finite dates within which you have to work within. When there's extraordinary circumstances, then we can talk about that. But, new ideas and things like that don't reach the level that's set. So I understand that it feels like a loss, but I think that order and consistency and having a predictable procedure is very valuable. So I know no one's opposing your ruling, Madam Chair, but I just want to go on the record as, outwardly supporting your decision.
All right. Thank you very much. I certainly do appreciate that. If we have no other comments from the board, we will proceed with now hearing a closing statement by Placer Ranch LLC.
And Acting Chair Kadara, just to note for the record, as a non-designated party, Mr. Garabedian did not have time to reserve. There was only one kind of opportunity for him to present his comments to the board. So he will not have additional kind of rebuttal.
Okay, so he used all of his time.
Okay. That was his opportunity to present to the board.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Madam Chair, would you like our
closing comments? Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I will just say in closing that the PCCP has undergone its own independent CEQA review. This particular project, Placer Ranch, has undergone not only a sunset area plan review, but a Placer Ranch specific plan CEQA review. There have been multiple levels of review over multiple years. This project has been studied inside and out, as I'm certain your staff could attest. We all know the regional board, your major job is water quality. You all are not a land use authority, and we appreciate that, which makes your job all the more serious. And with regard to the water quality aspect, these are extremely strong and forceful WDRs, and Placer Ranch has every intention of complying with each and every requirement you have issued. We greatly appreciate your time again. And Carmen, it's really fun to see you. She was on the board when I was on the board. And I thank all of you again, and especially Greg and staff. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Kate, for your comments, closing comments. We have any comments from the board? If not, we'll move on to have closing remarks and recommendations from our staff.
I can go ahead and make some comments unless we have any kind of technical details to resolve. I think I second the comment that was made earlier that this is probably one of the most reviewed projects.
Patrick, I would like to encourage you to speak up a little bit. Your voice is getting soft again.
This is one of the most reviewed projects that we've had in front of the board in recent memory. You know, I really appreciate Stephanie and Greg's slogging through quite a bit of environmental review documents. And I will say that, you know, the line that stands out within the staff presentation is that this comports with the no net loss policies. This comports with existing policies at state and regional board and is protective of beneficial uses as outlined in our basin plan. And I would also add, you know, kind of comments with respect to the land use decisions and CEQA. You know, certainly there are decision makers at other levels of government that made these decisions that were within their discretion. They are not light decisions, you know, making these kind of decisions about development. As you well know, in your prior career, Acting Chair Kadara, these are not decisions made lightly by any sense of the imagination. You know, as the county sits, the cities sit in determination of how they want their growth to be managed. They have these decisions that they're empowered to make. Again, we're not really here to second guess those. We're here to ensure that those decisions are fully protective of water quality. Again, I believe that the presentation that the board staff made and Stephanie and Greg with, you know, their supervisors made is fully protective and consistent with existing policies. So with that, I recommend adoption of the permit and to move towards discussion at the board level.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And at this point, we will close the public hearing and our board will have further discussion and or move forward with the vote. Any discussion from the board?
Member Kadara, this is Carmen.
Yes.
You know, I understand that no net loss isn't perfect, right? You know, just an offset doesn't mean that there's not going to be a difference, but that's the policy that exists for a board. And so to the extent that, you know, the policy is supported and after the science and the work has been done, I mean, I understand that people are normally unhappy with CEQA, but that's not our agency. Land use issues also not ours. So for the purview that we do have, you know, I appreciate staff's recommendation and I intend to support the matter as proposed.
Okay, thank you very much, Carmen. Mark, do you have any comments?
I was just going to totally agree with what Carmen just said. I think our staff is very diligent and checks all the boxes. I appreciate Mr. Garabedian's frustration sitting on the roadside in Tennessee, and I hope the tornado doesn't hit him. But in reality, I think we have to move forward with approval of this.
Okay. Do we have any other comments from the board? If not, then I will like to see a motion go forth in a second on this item.
I'll move that we approve this item.
Okay. This is Janelle, you want to call the roll? This is for to
second that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's been moved and second to approve Gen California Placer Ranch LLC Placer Ranch project, Placer County, to approve the project as been recommended by our staff. So if you'll call the roll, Janelle.
Okay, Board Member Brar.
Yes.
Board Member Abdis.
Board Member Abdis is recused from this item as well.
Sorry, I forgot. Board Member Yang.
Aye.
Board Member Bradford.
Yes.
Vice Chair Ramirez.
Yes.
Acting Chair Kadara.
Yes. The motion carries, and I would just like to thank the staff. I would like to thank Mr. Garabedian, and he's out there on the road traveling, so safe travel. And we appreciate all those that spoke the public comments on this project. Thank you very much.
And
Yes.
Member Cadero, this is unrelated to the subject, but I know that the matter was set for the previous board meeting and I wasn't able to attend. So I know that it got delayed. So I apologize to everyone who was ready to go at the last meeting, but we couldn't quite make it. So I'm here. I'm grateful that I got to hear the item. And so I'll apologize again for creating that inconvenience to everyone.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Definitely understandable. Okay, so we want to move on to our next item. And do we have another item?
I believe we are all set except for personnel item to be discussed in closed session.
We have closed session. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. We got through the agenda. Well, look, before we do close, one comment I'd like for Janelle, if she can correct and under board communication, if it's appropriate to do so. And this was on the item where I spoke about State Water Board Vice Chair, I always get the name, get tongue-tied, Dadamo, where I made reference to her suggesting that we add water quality. And what I meant was water systems, because we were talking about consolidated wastewater treatment. And she thought it would be appropriate to add water systems to that effort that we're trying to address for regional, the southwest region of Tulare County. So if we can make that correction, I'd appreciate that. Okay, so we will go into a closed session. Jessica, would you like to state?
Yes, we will be discussing personnel. In addition, we will also be discussing items E and G listed on our agenda.
Okay, and then will we come back after the closed session?
We are finished with items for today, so we don't need to come back after a closed session today, and we can start again tomorrow morning.
Okay, so our time for tomorrow morning will be at 9 a.m. and hopefully we won't have any glitches. I mean, we've done a great job. I commend our IT staff throughout this whole pandemic. This was the first day. The last day we have our last board meeting virtually. We have a snag, but thanks to the IT department for moving forward. And right now we'll go into our closed session. Thank you all very much. Yes.
Are we expecting a new Zoom link
We should have.
for closed session? Okay.
Yes, there was a new link.
All right.
And
Thank you, everyone.
Are we going to do it
Directly
immediately, or are we going to take a short break here?
Yeah, you're going to take a break, or we're going to go directly to it?
Well, what do you guys think? I mean, we can take a 10-15-minute break. I don't know how long our closed session is going to be. We're at 1:45 right now. Patrick,
Well, okay.
Yeah, I'd vote for a short break and maybe reconvene at 1.
Okay, that works, everybody. We'll reconnect at 1 o'clock. Okay, thank you
Sure.
all very much.
That's for the closed session,
Yes, for the closed session.
and I'm going to end this meeting for the day.
Yes, in this
Very
meeting.
good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gene.
See you all tomorrow.
All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sean.